Hey, Andrew.
Yes, Stephen?
You know how we romanticize the days of going out to our local video store and sifting through endless amounts of movies, searching for our favorite films, and maybe even finding some hidden gems?
Oh, yes, I know it all too well. That used to be my favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, everything is online now.
Well, what if I told you that there was a place online where you could get some of them same thrills as going to the video store?
Are you talking about Orbit DVD?
I knew you knew what I was talking about. Orbit DVD is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and online with OrbitDVD.com, they bring you everything your physical media heart desires.
Yeah, they have an awesome website that stays up to date with the latest releases from all of your favorite boutique labels as well as studio releases. Not only do they carry American labels such as Criterion Collection, Severin Films, Vinegar Syndrome, and Warner Archive, but they get routine shipments on imports from companies such as 88 Films, Arrow Video, Imprint, and so much more.
And with the option to sell or trade your used copies for cash or store credit, they really bring that video store vibe to you. So go to OrbitDVD.com and stock up on your Blu-rays.
And tell them Chasing Labels sent you.
Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I am your host, Stephen Billings, and with me as always is your other host, Andrew Cabal. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Stephen, doing good. Glad to be back. We are inching ever closer to episode 100. We are on spine number 95.
95, man. Yeah, it's creeping up, and yeah, we got plans for fun 100th episode. My plans are, I guess I can announce my plans. Hopefully, we do this thing. I plan on doing this, but I think we're gonna do a live show. I think we're gonna do this show live for like a one time only. I mean, maybe we'll do it again one day, but a one time live Chasing Labels. And with that, we're gonna hopefully have a bunch of previous guests pop in and say, "Hey, just chat with us for a second," and we'll make it a fun time. Hopefully, you guys can interact with us while we talk about announcements. And yeah, that'll be our 100th or spy number 100. Kind of coming to you guys. If you guys have questions for us, that'll be our 100th episode. So yeah,
Cool. I'm looking forward to it because we've never done a live show in that way before.
No.
You know what I mean? We've never done a whole show live. We've talked about it. I mean, we talked about making it like maybe an exclusive thing or doing it when we were thinking about doing a Patreon or doing something like that.
Well, yeah, we're gonna
got there.
Yeah, we did it with Unwatched Pile, but that was like an exclusive to like our Facebook page, and now we're bringing back the Unwatched Pile, and it'll be on YouTube Live. So that'll be our routine, hopefully a routine live thing that we do in the future. But and of course, it has been getting advertised, but we will have Ken from over at Mid Level Media joining us for our first episode of the Unwatched Pile on April 26th, 9 p.m. EST. So that'll be fun. We all are pulling out a blind buy, a movie in our collections that we have not watched. We're watching it, discussing it, and then we're going to pair it with a mysterious other film that will be like a double feature that we feel like each of us feels like will fit well with this new film that we've just watched. So that'll be fun. I know, right now I know you're doing Holy Motors. I'm doing Pump Up the Volume, and Kenny's going to be bringing in Pet Sematary 2. So three very different films to talk about. So
yeah, it's going to be very eclectic and very interesting because it'll be the first time we've kind of worked out that format or worked out that idea in screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the same time. So it's going to be a bit of a trial run, I assume.
Sure. Yeah.
Be patient with us.
Yeah, but I think it'll be fun because it simplifies it a little bit more. We had it a little bit more. It was more jam packed when we did it last time, where I think we did 2 movies a piece last time, and I think this will just simplify it a little bit. Spend more time kind of making it more of a hangout than it is like trying to, because I don't want to make the show too long. But let's move on beyond that. Let's talk about
Yes.
our guest for this week.
Yeah, we did have a guest this week.
Yeah, so spy number 95 this week we have Lisa Dreyer, who is a director of Fantastic Fest, one of the biggest genre festivals in the country, down there in Austin. And yeah, she was fantastic. Of course, she also does acquisitions work with Draft House Films. Um, and she was just such a pleasure to have her on, and she just really we nerd out with her about the festival experience, because it's one of them things that I always bring up all the time. I've been to one. I loved it. I wish I could keep going back to them, but they're just so expensive. And I mean, there is like one decent festival around me that I guess I could go to yearly, but I just, it's just tough to get out now. But she was great. And I can't wait for you guys to listen. So yeah, Andrew, anything else?
No, no, it was just really, really cool to get kind of an inside perspective on how not only Fantastic Fest is run, but probably how a lot of film festivals are run, and just the sheer amount of work and prep and time and effort that
Yeah.
goes into it is monumental. I mean, and there are so many film festivals. There are small ones, there are large ones. I mean, there's currently one happening right now. The TCM Film Festival is happening in
Yes.
Los Angeles. Hollywood. It happens every April or so, but well, with the pandemic kind of screwed everything up, but it's happening right now. That's my number one. That's the one I've always wanted to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like I would fit right in there perfectly. I love classic movies and all that kind of stuff. And I know so many people who go to it, so it'd be kind of a cool thing to experience. But yeah, it was really cool to get that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I found my opportunities during our conversation to relate physical media to the film festival experience, because I feel like a lot of what they have to do, which is curate these films that they're getting brought into them to the audience, and everybody's discovering things for the first time. And that's kind of like how it is when we're collecting, especially us that do a lot of blind buying. We're just like, these things are getting curated out to us from these labels, and we're just picking and choosing, and some things amaze us, some things we don't like. That's just how it is. And so it was fun talking about all that with Lisa. And so now let me stop talking and rambling, and let's let you settle down and listen to our conversation with Lisa Dreyer. And so with us this week, coming down from down under, and not too far down under. I know we've had some people from Australia here,
Hmm.
but just in the United States down under, and coming from Austin, Texas, we have Lisa Dreyer. She is director at the Fantastic Fest, one of the biggest genre festivals here in the United States, and also is does acquisitions work with Draft House Films. How you doing?
I'm good. I wish I was in Australia, actually. But yes,
Really? Is that like a place you really want to go to?
I would love to visit Australia. Alex Heller Nicholas, would love to go visit her. There's lots of cool stuff going on there, I feel like.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm always scared to go there. I mean, I don't know how people. I mean, like, I know it's just an outsider's perspective, but everything, all the animals they got going on there, and insects and stuff, kind of keeps me from committing.
What's
We have
interesting.
those in Texas too.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, yeah.
I'm not so much afraid of the wildlife. I'm more nervous about the plane ride over. Having to be in a plane for that long,
Oh,
in
okay.
one place for that long, seems like it would just be like you get cabin fever or something. I mean, I guess you could sleep the whole time, but it's still a long time
Nah,
to
I
be
can't sleep
sleeping.
in a chair sitting up. I can't do
Yeah,
that.
I don't think I could do that either. I can barely do that at home on a couch, let alone in a
Yeah,
confined airplane seat. Unless I had like super first class seats where
maybe,
it's all like
maybe.
nice and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming on with us. It's great to have you. It's something that's unique and interesting, I guess, here for us because we're usually talking with people who are behind the scenes when it comes to physical media and movies on disc and all that kind of stuff. But this is a little bit of a precursor to that stage of movie world where you're part of the theatrical exhibition and stuff like that, specifically the festival stage, which is the very early part of most theatrical exhibitions, where it's kind of the first step towards disc.
But yeah,
and whatnot.
sometimes it's the first step for any film to get distribution.
Yeah.
At all. Which is always a really cool thing. And we've had people that are kind of around the industry, that have done programming and things like that. I know you've done some programming for Alamo and some other film festivals. But yeah, we're gonna get into all of that. But just in general, I always like to start off saying, "How you doing? How's everything going in general?"
Things are going great. It's end of March, so we just had South by Southwest here in Austin. It's such a fun film festival. We're a big film festival in Austin, but we never compete. We're really, collaborate with a lot of the film festivals. So they had a lot of fun midnighters. I always get jealous when, they pick up a really good midnighter, and I'm like, I would have loved to play that. I saw a film called Late Night with the Devil that was really,
Mm.
really fun. That would have fit in perfectly with our theme this year, which is occult, kind of satanic throwback stuff. So yeah, I'm good. We're full steam ahead on planning for the festival. Even though it's in September, things start moving really, really fast.
Yeah, we got to get into the kind of the steps of what you do. I'm sure just like anything like this big, when that one's done, you're already kind of starting to think about the next one, because you got to
Yes.
get guests lined up, you got to get films lined up. But before we get into the festival, your work history, I do want to go into your personal history a little bit and kind of talk about you as a film fan. Where did the love of film start for you?
Yeah, I've always been a huge film fan. My grandma was really into scary movies. And I spent a lot of time with her. Me and my little brother would spend weekends with her, and she would put on like the X-Files and, really old black and white movies like The Blob. And it scared the shit out of me. Like I was just terrified. I would hear like the X-Files theme song, and still to this day, I'm like, oh, kind of creeped out. Um, but obviously, I also enjoyed it because that's what I do now. As a teenager, I was just got really into foreign films. I was like very snobby. Um, now I can say I was kind of, a pretentious
We all go
little,
through a snobby phase. We all go
yes,
through.
Oh yeah.
in,
Teenagers have such egos.
insufferable. Yes. Um, I grew up in Davis, California, which is right near Sacramento, right near San Francisco. So we were really lucky where we had so many theaters within driving distance. So I go to Sacramento or to San Francisco to see, art house films. And Sacramento had this really cool summer series. They have this big historic theater called the Crest. And they would have this like basically I think it was Friday or Saturday night, they would do double features of midnight movies, horror movies, but it was kind of eventized. So it was like my first taste of something like Fantastic Fest, where they would have a DJ when you came in, and then they'd have like a pre show and like fun kind of like stage antics and special guests. So, I saw like Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell was there. And that,
Oh,
as a
nice.
teenager is like, whoa, that's so cool. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. And Tura was there, just like telling these crazy stories. And that really just like cemented my love of not only movies, but just like the atmosphere around them and how, you know, it's just an event and it's a fun place to gather with people. And, that helped me loosen up a little bit from my snobby, only watching foreign movies very, seriously.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that atmosphere you grew up in is, well, first of all, it's lucky. You're
Yes.
lucky. You're very lucky that you grew up in that situation. But also, it's like I think when you're able to witness the people behind making these films, talk about the films, and get that full circleness, it makes you appreciate it more. And it also like you said, it made you super excited about everything that you saw, which of course then makes every experience you had watching these movies more special, and they stay with you. And I think that's something we're losing nowadays a little bit. We talk about this. We've talked about this many times, and that's why I think it's important we have a guest like you on, because we love these films, these physical media things we collect. It starts with the film, and the reason we want these films on physical media is because we already love the movies. Hopefully, for the most part, sometimes we do some blind buying, but we love the
Really?
movies. We do
Sometimes.
some a little
A
bit,
lot.
just okay all the time. Um,
I try not to. I don't like to walk into minefields, but sometimes you just kind of go. You just kind of do it.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
That even happens when you go to the movies. Really, I mean,
Well,
I we grew up.
essentially, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I always bring this up. Growing up in the '90s, being a late '80s baby, and then growing up in the '90s, there wasn't a lot, especially when you're a kid, like elementary school age. There wasn't a lot of information that you had access to when it came
Hmm.
to like the quality of the movie in the theaters, or even what the movies were in the theaters. I just remember going to the movie section of my newspaper and looking up the times and what theaters they were at,
Hmm.
and then going there.
and then
Then
Yeah.
and then you're. I mean, if you're old enough to, if you were in a, I mean, essentially you're seeing who's the actor in it or who's maybe the
Yep.
filmmaker, and that's your decision on why you might go, or you might read what the story is and be like, that sounds kind of cool, and
even
that's
as
it.
a
Right.
kid,
You know, I mean,
I didn't recognize actors. I start over time, you start seeing the same one show up over and over again.
Hmm.
If you see, I don't know, if you saw Batman, you saw Michael
I don't know.
Keaton,
I know who
and then
John.
you saw him show up in
I
something
knew who
else.
John Claude Van Damme was growing
Well,
up.
thing is, being a big Star Wars fan, I know who Harrison Ford was. I knew who Carrie Fisher was. So like when Harrison Ford was in so many movies in the '90s,
Yeah,
that was the '80s and '90s were his decades really, and so he would show up every now and then. I mean, aren't they having what's it, the 25th anniversary of Air Force One this year or last year?
who
Oh
knows?
It's
God.
it. And
I don't
it's
want to
like I
think
Feel
remember
about
when that
old.
movie came out.
it.
I
I don't
remember
want to
when
think
that
about
movie
it.
came out. They had, like, commemorative cups, like,
Yeah.
that you could
Yep.
get when you went to the movie theater.
But back on track. I
Back
do
on
want to,
track.
but I want to say that I think it's important that things like this are helping make the films more of an experience, and I think so. I think yeah, that whole getting to see the actors and things makes that great. And I wish we could get more of that. I really do. That's why the festival. I'm sure the festival, getting into festivals for you later on, probably maybe stemmed from that early experience. Maybe.
Definitely. I had tried to make some of my own stuff when I was in high school, but not seriously, just messing around. And then when I went to college, I did start in film school, but I switched. I went over to radio, and studied radio journalism because I just didn't really see a way to make money in film. It's like, what am I gonna, and I grew up poor. I didn't have, I wasn't a trust fund kid. So it's like, maybe I'll do something like journalism, it's still media. And I did enjoy that, but I never really worked in film. I worked in a lot of different jobs. I was a high school teacher for a while, and
Wow.
I was a stay at home mom actually for 5 years. Um, and then when I wanted to go back to work, I was thinking like, hey, like what do I want to do? Like I have a chance to really try and like reset my career path. And here in town, there's a nonprofit called the Austin Film Society. Richard Linklater started it. It's really cool. They run the public access station. They have a theater. They do a lot of grants and support filmmakers. And so they had an internship, and I'd met someone who had done the internship, but like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should apply for the internship. I was like, I'm old. I have two kids. Like, this is stupid. But also, it's kind of like, what do I have to lose?
You never know.
Um, so I ended up doing it, and I got to work with Lars Nilsson, who I don't know. To me, he's just one of the best programmers out there. He just has like such a depth of knowledge. He's one of Alamo Drafthouse's original programmers. Just like has, so much. He's just a wonderful person, and he really just taught me a lot and taught me about film programming because I didn't even know it was a job. I thought you work in film, you make movies, that's it. Um,
Yeah.
Pretty naive. Um, so yeah, from there I just kind of dove right in. It was nice to finally find something that I really clicked with because let's just say being a teacher is not my passion. But
Yeah.
this certainly is.
So what did you specifically teach?
I used to teach students with autism,
Hmm,
so doing special education, which
that's good.
love
That's
the
nice.
kids.
Yeah.
They were great. But take someone with, a lot of patience and energy and,
I
teachers
can I can
just,
see how that could get exhaustive. I mean, especially if it's not really your passion.
yeah. I mean,
Agreed.
I love the kids, but,
Of
it takes
course,
a special person to be a teacher. So,
Mm.
I have
definitely.
kids and I love that I can send them to someone else and someone else teaches them all day is great.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to do that with my child one
Oh,
day,
yeah.
way in the
One
future.
day.
One day, she just was born. Um,
Oh.
she was
You
just,
have a
but
while.
she was just born 9 months ago. So I'm like, I still got a long time.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. No, she's lovely. She's asleep. I'm watching her right now on a monitor. She's asleep,
Oh,
and she's
Nice.
a perfect baby. She sleeps at night. So
wow.
um,
Lucky you.
I
Mm.
know, I know.
That's kind of.
Wouldn't be able to do this show right
I
now if it
was just
wasn't for
gonna
her.
say that. That's kind of one of the reasons why we record at a specific time during the week,
Yeah,
Yeah,
or in general, really.
I know how that goes.
yeah.
Um, it takes a lot of patience, I think, to work with children in any capacity, let alone teaching for
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours a day or whatever the time may be, and
And
then
the pay is
and whatnot.
not fantastic. We know
Not
that.
enough.
We
Not
know
enough
that the pay is not
for all of
fantastic
it.
either. But,
Um, but
but that's
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say transitioning out of, all of those jobs and kind of, you know, making your way to what you do now, um, did you find that to be kind of like a difficult personal journey for you? Or did you kind of just like stumble across it as you went along? Because you said you got to it quite late.
Yes. So this will be my 6th year with Fantastic Fest. Um, Honestly, I do think it's nice that I started this career older and with experience because I really just knew what I wanted to do. Being a film programmer is obviously a privileged position. There's not a lot of jobs in the industry. It's very competitive. So I do feel really fortunate that, you know, I learned from one of the best programmers out there. Um, and then I really just threw myself into volunteering, like outside of my 9 to 5 at the Austin Film Society. And one of the places I volunteered was Fantastic Fest. I started on their volunteer screening team, which at film festivals, for anyone who's not aware, basically people submit their films and there's a team of people that review them. And it's a wide array of quality of the types of films that get submitted. So it really takes a lot of patience. But I loved doing it because I think even if a film is not a masterpiece. It's still someone put a lot of hard work into it. And, as someone who had tried to make movies in the past and was like, never, like, that's way too hard. I really appreciate when anyone can make anything. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, you make a 5-minute movie, you make a 90-minute movie, like, that's a miracle. Like, you made a movie, that's awesome. So, yeah, I just, from there, was promoted to being a programmer. Um, Fantastic Fest, like all festivals, had a hard time during COVID. Um, and so during COVID, there was just kind of a shift where we didn't really know what we were going to do that first year when we couldn't have a physical festival. So myself and this woman, Abra Perry, kind of stepped up and formulated our virtual festival that we put on for free that first year of COVID. And that's when I kind of started leaning more into a leadership role with the festival. Maybe from being a teacher, I just kind
Just
of
took control.
naturally slotted in there. But then when I was finally promoted to director last year, I said, yes, I would love to, of course, dream job, but I have to program too because I love programming so much. I feel like I've only just gotten started programming. So I'm still on our features programming team with our director of programming, Anik Monart, who's just the best. Fabulous taste. She lives in Spain. She's been doing this forever. I love her. And then we have 3 other programmers on our team They're all just super awesome, have like really diverse taste, bring a lot of, different expertise to the table. So it's a really fun process just getting to, watch movies and discuss them with people who are way smarter than me, and figuring out what the audience is going to love.
Yeah, the way you describe the, kind of the process of a festival, in a sense, it is kind of like physical media, except you're just showing it for a group of people, on a screen, a big screen, and the people that work at these labels we love are curating, they're watching films, they're figuring out what they want to put on physical media, and then send them out to the world. And
Yep.
I love that comparison there, and but yeah, I mean, that has to be just, I mean, whenever you find a film going through all these submissions, I know you were saying, sometimes they're not masterpieces, but when you find the movies that are like, you're like, wow, this could be a new voice. Is that exciting when you find something that's like a new filmmaker and you're like, wow, this could be somebody that could be very exciting, and you see it and you're like, wow, I got to wait 6 months before we can show this to anybody, like, or however
Yes.
long, yeah. But
Yes.
when does that happen often?
Oh, all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, so we program around 90 features, which is a lot.
Phew.
And
Yeah.
honestly, we could program way more because we just see so many films we love. And yeah, I mean, sometimes we find festivals from different places. So we'll find them, we go to Sundance and Cannes and Berlin, and we'll see a great movie there, and bring it to Austin. And that's amazing. It's awesome to find an amazing movie at Cannes, have this amazing experience, and then bring it to Austin. But it is even more exciting when you just come across this small movie that hasn't played a festival, the director's unknown. It is really a hidden gem. And it does kind of feel like, when you used to go to a VHS store and you're just flipping through and you just pick something randomly and you're like, I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad. And then all of a sudden you're watching something and it's, whatever, a masterpiece, and you're like, this is amazing. So it does
Yeah.
have like that same air of excitement, because you really don't know what you're going to get with a lot of these films, unless it's coming from a big festival previously.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you've had quite a few pretty great kind of premieres over the years at Fantastic Fest. I'm looking at the list here. You've had just recently you had Smile premiere there,
Yeah, we
which
had the
was,
world premiere.
yeah, which was pretty is
um,
pretty good. I watched that. I'm starting to catch up on last year's films, and I watched
okay.
Smile about a month ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
when it comes to like world premieres, and when it comes to, I guess, kind of acquisitions for getting films to Fantastic Fest, specifically bigger films with bigger name directors who want to, do they approach you or do you approach them in terms of, you know, how to get it?
Yeah, so it goes both ways. We're obviously lucky that we're a really established festival, so we have really good relationships with a lot of the studios like Neon and A24, Universal. So a lot of times they will approach us and say, "Hey, we're trying to find a place to premiere this film." Fantastic Fest is obviously a great launching pad for it. We're super lucky that we have the Alamo Drafthouse connected, so, it's like a lot of times, like with Smile, we world premiered that film and then it went on to do like crazy numbers at the box office at every theater, but especially at Alamo from that extra push. But then also, we have this crazy spreadsheet. You would not want to see it. That's tracking every possible movie, and who has it. So, we have targets where, we'll reach out and say, hey, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, we want to check out that movie, here. Um, I don't know. It's exciting. Too many good movies. But then it's always like a waiting game to see,
Yeah,
if
who
it's
gets
gonna
what?
line up. Yeah. And if it's gonna
Yeah.
line up with their theatrical, because horror, like the summertime is a huge time for horror theatrically. So, a lot of times it's like Barbarians before us, they throw all this great stuff on the screen right before us, like Pearl. Would
Yeah.
have loved to play that. So, we're always like, wait, just wait a little bit.
I didn't even. Yeah, that actually didn't even factor into my mind that, you know, you being a festival, does it typically happen every September or is it just a fall thing in general?
Yeah, we're always around the last week of September.
Okay.
There's so many different film festivals, and we try and, you want to give everyone their space. And
Yeah.
so if you move dates, like Tribeca has been moving their dates all around, and, we try and like to be in the same time always.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you say that, that does make a lot of sense because Sundance is always in January.
Hmm.
South by is always in March. You know, you like you said, you guys are always in September, and it's what's interesting is that I guess what I was trying to say is that you know you being in September, you know, you may miss out on a lot of stuff that premieres a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Because the year is what 3/4 over by that time, or pretty close to
But
it.
yeah, but there's a lot
But
of
then we
crazy.
kind of hit like the
Yeah,
next wave and
Yeah, I
kick
was gonna
off some
say.
you hit the
like,
fall wave.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
because
it's
some
like
of the
a
other
lot of award stuff.
yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say you premiered There Will Be Blood, which is some years ago.
yep.
That was a big one. That I was like, man, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And so thinking about that, Andrew brought up big filmmakers and things like that. I know I don't know if you've done any kind of like I know some people do like the introductions for the films with the filmmakers and the actors. Have you ever done anything like that for any of the screenings where you've introduced it with the filmmaker or anything like that?
Yep. I love hosting movies. Um, I don't, I hate talking about myself, but I love to talk about movies and I love to just like help filmmakers shine and promote their films and, just getting to have those really interesting conversations with filmmakers. Our whole programming team hosts the movies that play at Fantastic Fest. And, there's only five of us. Sometimes we pull in some other helpers, but, it's a heavy lift. So we're all hosting, a few movies a day. Um, this year we had Martin McDonough with Banshees of Inisherin, and he's just so funny, so lovely. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch that film.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
did.
loved it. Yeah,
I did.
I love that movie. So, getting to talk to people like that, I wouldn't say I get starstruck easily. I just get very like interested in the conversation. And it's so nice to be able to, give our audience a chance to really have those, you know, be part of those conversations. So yeah, I love doing that.
yeah.
Have you ever been like starstruck by anyone you've had do like an intro or Q and
Oh,
A, like someone like super personal that you always wanted to meet, you never thought you would be able to, and it happened.
uh, I mean, I do. I get excited to meet. Like we had Park Chan Wook out last year with Decision to
Nice.
Leave, and meeting him, he's like a legend. So you're definitely like, Julia Ducournau. She's one of my favorite, contemporary filmmakers. We had her out with Titan. She's pretty intimidating just because I just think she's so smart, so cool, such an awesome filmmaker. So I try and play it cool though.
Yeah, I
Yeah, probably a lot cooler than most people. Certainly a lot cooler than me, or
well,
maybe most
it's
people.
tough. It's tough. When I went to Telluride, I literally and my friend, I had a friend with me, and she didn't even know it was her. But we were in a hotel bar, and come walking in is Laura Dern, and I'm
Oh,
like,
I would not.
I was
I would
like,
lose my cool.
I was like, uh,
Are you in the right
and,
place?
and my friend was like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "Fucking Jurassic Park."
Uh,
Uh, not Blue Velvet, but
she
um,
wasn't Blue Velvet.
oh yeah, I'm thinking. I was like David Lynch. See, I'm already
Mm.
starstruck thinking about her.
Oh, I mean, she would do that to me too, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
but I got a chance to talk to her for a second, and she was amazing. And the other I also met. Well, he didn't speak English, but Hirokazu Koreeda was
Oh,
at the
amazing.
festival. I believe for his not his last film, but the film before that, the one with the family. What's
Shoplifters?
Yeah,
Shoplifters?
it was for
That's it.
shoplifters.
Yeah, he
I
was there for
love that movie.
Shoplifters, and
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, he had the
He just
interpreter
had a
there,
new
and
movie that came out last year, which was very
Mhm.
good,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
no one really talked about.
I know. I feel like it got kind of
Swept under the rug,
I
like it really did.
agree. I don't know why, because Shoplifters was like a pretty, for that type of film, pretty successful
Yeah.
theatrically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so there, there's, is there, I mean, I know we keep going back to actors and filmmakers, but is there a particular conversation you had on stage that, I know you said you really like Martin McDonough. Any other ones that really stand out to you as being really good conversations?
Ooh. Um, Now I'm
So
just thinking.
I know
I
you
I
got,
feel like I can't say any
I
I
one
put her on
know,
the
I know.
spot.
person
I,
where they're gonna be like,
yeah, we don't want to play favorites here.
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess that's true. They're all good.
Well,
I'm
let me
assuming
ask
they're
you.
all
Let,
interesting.
let me go right to somebody then, because you say you work for you worked for the Austin Film Society. Did you ever
yeah,
meet Richard Linklater?
I sure did. He's really nice, very chill, very down to earth, uh, no airs.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I mean, he helps with a nonprofit celebrating film, which is just like you can't get, better than that. Like he's a real film lover, which a lot of directors are, but not all of them
I've
are.
mentioned it before. It's
Yeah,
nice
that's
to
interesting.
see when filmmakers are actually kind of showing their love for film, because it feels like sometimes
Yes,
there's certain filmmakers that like are really like they're into making movies, but they don't really show their love for film.
yes,
There's just like this a little bit of, as we've said, snobbery. It maybe a little bit holding back, not wanting to be, outgoing about their love for film.
Mm,
But then there's
yeah.
mm-hmm,
filmmakers like a Tarantino or like, Ryan Johnson or,
mm-hmm,
them guys really, love to talk about movies and talk about them with other people. And
yes.
I love that. I love that.
I will say, so we had Edgar Wright come out for Last Night in Soho. We did a big surprise.
Yeah.
And he is someone that, obviously really has so much knowledge about film, you know, bases a lot of his style on, past films in a new way. But he was really fun to talk to about that film and just, how that film's all set in the 1960s and his references and just a real like deep knowledge of film. And that's always really fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was a fun guest.
Yeah, he's kind of a personal, like I want to get him on the show one day.
No.
Okay.
I,
We're working our way towards people, like, I mean, like
I guess
we
so. That'd
haven't
be a hell of
released
a
it yet. We haven't released it yet, but we had director Chris McKay
Oh,
interviewed coming
nice.
up for Renfield that's
Awesome.
coming out. So we're working our way.
Amazing.
What's
Okay,
that?
there you go. I
Yeah,
said
we're
amazing.
Yeah, he
yeah. Thank you,
super.
thank you.
Talk about somebody down to earth, super nice guy. I mean, I don't want to tease too much of the interview because you got to give the people something to listen to. But yeah, but
I mean,
super
I
nice
think it's
guy.
fine to say he's nice.
Yeah, he's a
It's
nice
okay.
guy.
He's a cool guy. Yeah.
He's a cool guy. Like you said, and also another like film fan. Had an interesting life in
We
film
had
and kind
Sean
of
Baker on. We
his
had Sean
story.
Baker on
Sean
as well.
Baker
Oh,
was
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So
He's nice too. Yeah.
That was a nice surprise. His work is truly unique and set in very specific style.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and it's someone yet again who is a cinephile. I mean, he
Hmm.
mentioned Steven brings this up all the time. He has like an extra apartment that's just all of his movies.
That's where he keeps
What?
his physical media. He's like, I keep my physical
Oh,
media in a whole other apartment just because that's
what
how
a
much
dream.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I wish we had that space.
Yeah,
But
one day. One
yeah,
day.
one day. But part of what you do also is you do acquisitions for Draft House Films. So please
Yes.
talk about that whole position, working with a film distribution.
Yeah, so, Draft House Films really had like a heyday where they're putting out tons of films, and then went dormant for a little bit, which was sad because, it really was just such a beloved label. One of my friends, Evan Husney, helped start it with Tim League and James Shapiro. And, it was just such a unique label. It just really put out so many wasn't afraid to take risks, put out, the act of killing, like talk
Yeah,
about like a wild documentary, and then, just all types of interesting things.
Greasy Strangler.
Yes,
Love that movie.
love him. Um, Huge fan of him. Um, and so then Giant actually is a big aggregator. They work with like a lot of different distributors, just putting things out digitally. They actually bought Draft House Films, and they said, we want to start putting things out again, but we want to keep, the voice and the vision. And so Tim League is back on board, and I got brought in along with my colleague Abra Perry just to try and, find those films that would, continue the tradition. Um, so for me, it was a natural fit because I see so many movies at Fantastic Fest, and not every movie gets distribution. So I mean, it sounds silly, but a movie could be at Sundance, it could be at Cannes, it could be at Berlin, it could be at Fantastic Fest, and it will never get distributed. And it's sad, but it's true. So with Draft House, I thought, here's a great opportunity. We play so many great movies at Fantastic Fest. Some of them are really out there. Not all of them are going to get picked up. Like, let's try and, find a home for these amazing genre films. So we've put out Masking Threshold, which was from Fantastic Fest last year. No, actually the year before, by
Okay.
this really amazing, interesting filmmaker, Johannes. I'm not even going to try and say his last name. He'll kill me. But, he also makes robots, and he's just like this crazy genius, and he made this really interesting film. Um, Now we're releasing two films theatrically in April. They're actually two documentaries. One is called Chop and Steal, and it is about these guys. Have you heard of the Found Footage Fest? So it's Nick Pruer and Joe Pickett. They, handpick all these weird old vintage clips and like make these really funny shows. Definitely recommend checking it out.
Okay.
But they're also like professional pranksters. And so they came up with this act where they were these strong men, chop and steal, and they tricked all these morning TV show hosts, like Good Morning America. They go on there and be like, here's, wearing spandex, American flag
Yeah.
spandex, saying, here's an easy workout you can do at home. And then like the stupidest things, just like crushing wicker baskets with their feet, or like making these disgusting smoothies and making the people on air drink them. Um, and they ended up getting sued. So the documentary is super funny. It's all about their wild pranks.
Yeah.
And that's going to be in Alamos in April. And then we also have another doc called A Life on the Farm, which for physical media collectors, this one's really interesting because it's basically about this man on a farm in England who would make all these wild home movies, like really wild. Um, I don't know how to talk about this movie and make it like not sound crazier than it is, but he when his mom died, who was living with his mom, he like posed his mom in different places and like used her in a movie. But it's actually very charming, even though this sounds
Sounds pretty
extremely
crazy.
creepy. This guy was definitely crazy, but it was also just like he would make these videos and share them with his neighbors. And then when he passed away, this filmmaker found all these videos, and so it's just really interesting. Uh, Meditation on people that like just want to create things, even though
Hmm.
they don't necessarily have the resources. Um, and all this video remains that he shot. And so it really is like a love letter to movie making and a love letter to physical media, because it's like it's still here with us, because he chose to commit it to VHS, which,
That's great.
is pretty cool. Um, it's actually heartwarming. I know I talk about the dead grandma, but it's actually a really charming, heartwarming doc. Um, so yeah, it's just really exciting to. I'm sure you guys, you see a movie and you're like, God, I love this movie. How can I support this movie? And being able to distribute it is, an amazing way to support a movie. So feel
Definitely.
really
It
lucky to get to do that.
was a good pitch for us. Yeah. I mean, now is that only going to, are these films only going to be in Alamo draft houses? at first?
They'll have like an exclusive week with Alamo Draft Houses, and then they'll go out across the country, and then they'll be available digitally.
Okay.
Um, and on some of them, they'll be available on VHS.
Ooh,
Um,
No.
so yeah,
nice.
I
I
don't
like it.
know. Yeah, and
Keep it.
we're working out the physical media side,
Yeah, I
because
was gonna say Draft
obviously,
House used to put out some physical media back in the
yep,
day, and I don't
yep,
think it's been a while since they've done that. I believe, but that'd
it
be
has
nice. That'd be nice
been.
to see Draft House films start to put stuff back out. That'd be nice.
Oh, for sure. I mean, our
Yeah,
audience is collectors, you know,
yeah,
everyone is a big collector. So,
nice, nice.
yeah.
Well, and so that leads us to we have to ask you: are you a collector yourself? Are
Oh
you
no,
do you got some movies stashed around that we can't see?
this is going to be shameful. Um, so when I was in college, I worked at a record store. I worked at Amoeba Records, and I worked in their video room and, bought everything, floor to ceiling, because I got this great discount. All the records, all the DVDs, all the VHS. Then when I moved to New York City,
Uh
I had to pay for my trip somehow, so I sold almost everything.
oh.
Um, Kept some things, and I've just moved around so much that I try and keep my collection small. Um, I still love it, and it starts creeping, but it's it makes me sad because I did have a very glorious, huge collection, and you know, I
It's
I
fine.
love it. Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one who's done that. I've seen many people who have large collections, then one day they're just like they just sell it. They just kind of lose. They either lose
They have
interest
some
or
yeah,
financial reasons, or
yeah,
they're
yeah.
moving, or whatever the case
I
may
mean,
be.
space is so real. Like a lot of
Mm.
my friends have full rooms, and I have kids in those rooms. I'm not living in a palace here. So, I definitely have like my very special things that I will never part with. And I do, I just we did Country Gold, which is Mickey Reese is a filmmaker that we played at Fantastic Fest many times. He came and did a screening at Alamo, and he made cassette tapes of the soundtrack of his movie.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can't resist that. So I still pick up things here and there.
Well, that's something
Yeah.
But
that's like
y'all, I
unique.
can see your guys'
I know
Oh,
collections in the background.
it's
you're seeing a very you're seeing a very small
you can only
sample
fit so
size
much in
of
the camera, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's become. I always say that shelf space specifically is always at a premium. Um,
Hmm.
I've run out years ago, and then you create more shelves,
yeah,
you fill those shelves, and then it's
yeah.
onward and onward and onward.
We I
There are
promise
people
we
who
do
collect.
watch the movies. It just
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
buy them faster than we can watch them. So
that's also very true. But
it's
also,
just what
I
it
mean, there
is.
are people who have massive, massive collections in multiple formats because, like, everything from VHS all the way up now to 4Ks, and it's just and everything in between, and it's just like, wow, I don't have that much space for all of that. Also, that's a completionist,
Yes.
and it's like I don't even know where to track down some of these. Like, what can I find? Where can I find a PS Vita version of live action Scooby Doo movie? Where does one
Yeah,
sell that?
yeah, yeah. Are there
I don't
what
even
are
think James Gunn has that version of
probably
that
not.
the movie, and he made it.
I mean, I think that's why, though, video stores are so important. And I know they've, phased out, but you really can't find everything you want to watch online, even though people say, it's all on Amazon, it's on, it's not. Um, and so, in Baltimore, there's this really cool nonprofit video store called Beyond Video. One of my friends, Eric Hatch, started. Um, and they really have everything. And I know a lot of physical media collectors have donated stuff to them because it's true. How much can one person watch? You have these amazing collections. Can you watch it all? But with a video store, it's all there. People can go, people can share it. Um, Austin lost their video stores recently,
Mm,
But We Love Video is making a comeback, I think. I think they're raising money to try and open again. So I think that's really cool. It's like you don't have this, like, I don't necessarily have the space or the time or the inclination to collect all the physical media anymore, but I love it. And I
Yeah.
love that people are preserving things. We work really closely with AGFA,
Yeah.
who does an amazing job just, restoring things and preserving film history. Deaf Crocodile is another, label I love to work with at Fantastic Fest. So it is so important that it exists because, you know, if it's online, just a file, that could
No,
disappear.
it's
Someone
not
could take that away.
it's not
Yeah,
safe.
and
It's
the
not
thing is,
safe.
we've seen it happen. Like what you're
Yeah,
saying, we've seen happen so many times. I see it all the time. People, um, who will buy a digital movie on whatever format may be,
yep.
and then one day it's gone
That
because
company goes out of business
the
and they don't
if the
care.
company goes out of business, or if that company loses the rights to that, to have that movie on their format or whatever the case may be, it's gone, and
Yep,
I don't think they refund you for it. I think it just
Yeah.
disappears.
No.
I mean,
nope.
and I guess that's the risk you take when you're dealing with that type of digital technology. I mean, it's permanent until it's not. I
You're
Yep,
mean,
buy
disc even
you're buying access.
yeah, you're
You're not owning
a-
it, you
and
know?
it's not that, and I say this before, it's not that discs or VHS or anything else really lasts forever. Everything seems to have an expiration date. I just know that in general. The disc rot is a very real thing. Vinyl records don't last forever. Cassette tapes,
yeah,
CDs. I mean, nothing really lasts
I need them to
forever.
last as long as I live.
Well,
That's
yeah,
all
I
I
mean,
need.
there's a you have a longer at least they have a longer lifespan
Yeah.
than you think.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting how the digital versus physical media battle is ever ongoing, and
yeah,
it is a lot to do, I would say, culturally, more so than other practical reasons. I just think the younger generations now are consuming media in a more accessible streaming digital way, and they're not even like learning about what physical media is because they don't use it. Many young people don't have televisions. They watch everything on their laptop or a
mhm,
tablet or stuff like that. And I would say, just to transition into kind of the theatrical thing of it all, is that people would rather watch movies at home versus in the theaters. I think obviously the festivals are unique because it's an experience. Many people travel, like you just said. It's curated. There's programming involved. It's very specific, but just the theatrical experience versus the times is changing. I think COVID is sped everything up. Like you were saying, you had to make adjustments during COVID just to survive. Really, must have been a very
yeah.
difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, for Alamo, obviously in every theater, it's like you just couldn't show movies. You weren't allowed to exhibit movies. Um, so really rough. And I agree, getting people back like into the theaters when people are used to like sitting on the couch, it's hard. I do think that, especially with horror movies, I think that's why they continue to always do well theatrically, is because it is that immersive experience. And it's really the type of movie where it's like you go to a theater, so you can be in like the pitch black, get, totally freaked out, hear people scream. So horror movies do have that going for it. Alamo Drafthouse does work really hard. I don't know if y'all have an Alamo near you.
I was gonna say I've been a couple times. In North Carolina we have one in Raleigh.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
I was gonna tell you that I've been there a couple times. Alamo Draft House is the best theater experience overall, like all around. Like you go in and it's a video store in the front, like the one that we have,
yeah,
and there you can rent movies, you can buy movies. There's Criterions there. There's label movies you can buy there. There's merchandise, and there's a bar you can sit and hang out. And then there's the theaters, and then the theater experience. You guys have thought of everything. You not only do you have buckets that are made from like tin, so you're not getting all the crinkly bag noise. I love that. But you also have these things where you have this card system where somebody will come to your chair if you need a refill, or if somebody's even using their phone while you're watching a movie, you can say, hey, this guy over here, he needs to get his phone turned off, because you have that no tolerance policy on phones, which I wish all
Yes.
theaters would do. The Alamo Draft House, if I wish there was one closer to me, because I would go all the time, but it's like 2 hours away from me. So it's like a
Yes.
special occasion for me. I want to go to the Alamo Draft House.
Mm.
So
Well, we want to be, everywhere and
I
as
know you.
close to you
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just something they take really seriously and have always taken really seriously. Tim League, the founder, is a huge film lover. And so, the projection is just top notch. The programming is just very considered. It's not robots just plugging in biggest it's like we have our superhero movies, but then you have these amazing repertory films that are curated by these amazing programmers that the Alamo employs. um, and so I think that kind of level, that attention to detail, that is what it takes to get people to come out of the house. You don't want to leave your house, go to a theater, there's like, yeah, someone texting on the phone, teenagers screaming, like someone like dropping a hot dog on you, there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Oh, yeah, well, I
Um,
think we've all witnessed all of
yeah,
that. I mean, I Steven and I
exactly.
talked about this years ago. Even before COVID, before all of that, like the issues with the movie theater going experience is literally everything that you've just
It's
um
the people.
described.
The,
It's
the
the
people
people.
are
Mo-
is the hardest thing. Is people don't know how to act.
Movie
Yep.
theater etiquette apparently isn't like an innate thing. Like people just don't
No,
naturally know how to act in a movie theater. Like
I know.
it's
And
kind
then
of baffling to
people
me.
have
It's
really backslid now. So, but yeah, Alamo is serious. You will
They're
get a
serious about it.
warning and you will get kicked out. And I think that's great because no one is going to the movies. Well, I mean, I guess some people are going to the movies to
Yes, some people
text,
are.
but then you're wasting your money. Like, turn off your phone, just enjoy it, be immersed in the experience. I don't
And
know.
it
I love
is.
it. I
It
love watching movies in a theater.
Yeah, and like I said, it is an experience going to an Alamo Draft House, because it's as soon as you walk in, you're in a movie environment. Like, it's not fake. It's not,
not
like, it's not
commercialized.
commercial looking. It's not like the standard movie theater look. It is unique. It
It's
is.
not a. I'm assuming it's.
There's
I
like
mean, I've
eight
never
foot
been
eight
to
foot
one.
tall VHS movies in the lobby. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
was saying
that's
it's
like
probably not like a multiplex. You know what I mean? Like the
it's
multiplex
different. Yeah.
experience, everything's always like bright and shiny, and there's like lights everywhere, and everything is like an like a whole big, almost like amusement park type of thing. I just feel like Alamo Draft Pile. I've never been, so I don't know. But
We
I'm
have
assuming
to get
Steven.
you to one.
There's
Come on,
one in
man.
Boston, which is about an
Okay.
hour
Yeah,
away.
that one
That's
just
the
opened.
I would say that's the closest one. Other than there's that one, and there's the ones in New York, and then that's it. I think the further north you get, the less there are of Alamo Draft House. I just feel like
Yeah.
The further
that's
away
the
from
Well,
case.
Texas you get,
Yeah,
we
I think that's what I was just saying. I'm pretty
we
sure it
did
was.
start in Texas, but we're branching out.
that's
So,
good. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, get one in Charlotte. Get one in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So
That's
it's
a little
closer to
closer to
you.
me. A little
That's
closer.
what people are always like, "So, can you tell them?" I'm like, "Sure,
Sure,
I'll
why
just
Would you
not?
write
tell
it
them to go
down."
build another theater? Do it now.
The thing is I'm pretty sure it's not one. People say that, and it's like you can't just put a theater anywhere. It's not gonna work.
Yeah,
Like
no,
we'll
yeah,
go to it, but it's like
yeah,
they need like thousands of people
yeah.
all the time going to them. I
Well,
couldn't imagine what it's like trying to open a theater now.
now it's like trying to start one of these physical media labels. Probably like it's like there's already a big group of people already doing this thing. Do we need to try to start a new thing now? Does it feel like it's and people are half going to the theaters? Some certain movies people run out to the theater for, but a lot of other ones they don't. So you have to
Mhm.
have a unique edge or unique thing that, like, I think Alamo does, to maybe
Mm.
get people back. But I do, for wrapping up, I do want to just we've kind of skirted around this a little bit, but I want to ask you about just some of your favorite movies. So, what are some of them physical media movies that you're holding on to dear life that you won't ever get rid of? What are some
Oh,
of the movies that you just can't get rid of?
so I love Showgirls.
Oh my
Um,
God, it's getting a
Yeah.
4K.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
getting a
cl
4K. Are you
Yeah, I
getting
know.
that 4K?
Very
Probably someone will probably gift it to me because
nice.
people know I love that movie. I
Wow.
am glad it has been reevaluated, but there's still some people that are not on the train, and whenever I run into one of those people, I fought. Well, I say fight, but I mean, I was ready to fight with a guy at the festival last year who tried to tell me it was a trash movie, blah. And I'm like, have you been living under a rock for 10 years? Like, it's, it's come full circle. People know it's one of the best movies of all time. It's not a trash movie.
Okay, I'm not going to agree with you necessarily, but it's
I
been, but it's
I
been,
was
but it's,
I
Am I
was
gonna
on
have to fight you?
I was on
it's
board
been a
with your
while since I've seen
appreciation
it.
of
So
it
yeah, yeah,
up until
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Rewatch it.
I'm
yeah,
going to.
very.
I already bought the 4K. It's coming.
Did you? I
So
see you didn't tell
Oh,
me.
yeah,
see, there you go.
so it's coming.
So
Um,
But
you're gonna know soon enough, Steven.
well,
yeah.
I've seen it. It's been a while,
Yeah,
but
so
I've
have I.
seen it. So I need to rewatch it, but so I can see that it's the best movie of all time.
Oh
So
yeah,
remind myself.
certainly one of the most enjoyable movies of all time.
It
Um,
definitely has its moments, definitely.
yeah.
So what else? What else is a little less? Is there
Yeah,
any
you
less
start.
controversial ones?
Any controversial ones?
Or less controversial?
Um,
Less controversial. I
oh,
think Showgirls is controversial. Um,
I mean, uh, because I do genre film, horror movie, I don't get to like talk about the other movies I like as much, but I really am from my pretentious days, I'm a huge Almodovar fan.
oh, nice.
Um, I love all of his films. My laptop is being propped up by this beautiful, huge book I have about all of his films that I love and I will never sell. Um, Robert Altman. I don't know. When you talk about favorite movies, it's just like you go down
It's
a
okay.
wormhole and
Yeah.
it's really hard. But I just have like really diverse tastes. I will watch anything. I will say that one genre I haven't been converted to is Westerns.
Okay.
So if you have any Western recommendations
Hmm.
that could make me a fan of the genre, I'm all
Hmm.
ears.
Andrew, you got any westerns for her that she needs to? I mean, look. Here's an
I'm asking.
okay.
I
Here's an
mean, I
obvious
thought
one.
that was more of a rhetorical question,
Well,
but
no,
I guess
but
what
here's
you
an
may or may
obvious
not.
one. Here's an
No.
obvious one. You might have seen it, you might have not, but it's essentially a kind of play. It's a one of the icons of a western, Clint Eastwood, right?
What are you
So
gonna
he's done
Okay.
choose?
many westerns, and this is him kind of doing a movie that kind of caps his whole career, and that's Unforgiven. If you've
Oh,
never
okay.
seen, um,
Never seen it.
yeah, Unforgiven's
All
from the
right.
early '90s. It won Best Picture of the year it came out,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
really good western. Also stars Gene Hackman,
Okay.
and it's kind of it kind of is the last big western he ever does. I think it might even be the last western he does, but it shows him at this older age, kind of doing that revenge story that he's done a few times, and just kind of he directs it too. It's a beautiful movie. I'd say that's a good starter if you're looking for like a really good hard hitting western film that is not
Okay.
overly complicated, has great characters, and just it can get really bloody at times. It has its moments. It's a good one, I think.
All right.
Andrew,
I
That's
check
a
it out.
that's pretty
okay,
good. You started out pretty hot and heavy, Steven. I mean,
sorry.
there's a lot of great ones. I mean, um,
Don't
the
go on a
tr
list
no,
tangent.
I'm
We
not
need to
going
give
on a
her like
list
one or
tangent. Well, the
two.
thing is, you open
She
up the
she said
fun.
she's never got into it. We don't need to give her 5 or 10
Yeah, you
movies.
can't open
I
up the
try.
floodgates
I
like that.
try.
Um, the True Grit by the Coen Brothers
I
from
do like that
yeah,
movie.
that
Okay,
was a
I
there's a
pretty
like
good
good
one.
that
one.
one.
Even the original is worth a watch, I guess, just to see John Wayne. I
I haven't seen the original.
get a career Oscar, I guess, for that film. But even something like The Proposition, the I think it's
Guy
Heathcote, which is an
Pearce.
Australian Western film.
Wait,
Yeah.
I did
I think it's
Nick
Guy Pearce in
Cave
that.
have
It's
something
Guy.
to do with that movie?
Who? Nick who?
Nick,
Nick Cave, the
I,
singer-songwriter, didn't he have something to do
yeah,
with the
he wrote
Western?
the screenplay
I
for
was
it.
gonna say he wrote it, I
Yes.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have seen that one and I like that one. Look, we found
yeah, I
two
know. You
We're
say you
westerns
gonna
don't
I've
like
seen
him.
and
we knew
liked.
you liked westerns. We knew
I'm always trying to look for my blind spots and like
Mm,
Yeah,
my own personal biases. And, Westerns definitely fall into like the genre category of films we play at Fantastic Fest, and we've
yeah.
played some cool ones. So I don't know. I'm just always trying to expand my
There's
filmmaking or my
oh, of
film
course.
viewing tastes.
I think we all have blind spots when
we
it
all do.
comes to
We all
certain
do. Yeah.
genres. I mean, for many people, it is westerns because westerns is such a genre that's been, I wouldn't say it's not a dead genre, but it's faded into obscurity after being like the top genre for so many decades, and it faded into obscurity. I think before a lot of us were around to kind of appreciate it. I don't think many of us grew up with westerns being prominent as they once were, and it's kind of unfortunate. For a lot of people, I think it's musicals. I think it's a tougher genre for people to get into. I always see people just completely dismiss musicals, um, because they just don't think like music should be that prominent in movies or takes away from the plot or whatever the case may be. But I often find that musicals have some of the most amazing productions I've
Ooh,
ever seen.
I love musicals. I love Bob Fosse,
Mm.
all that jazz. Yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna say
I'm like a nerd. I
all that
love
jazz is a
musicals.
drama. I don't know what
Yes.
people are talking
I mean,
about.
it's amazing. I mean, that's like a hardcore movie, like it's intense.
I think of the original West Side Story, and some of the camera work and the choreography of that movie is incredible and amazing to achieve at that time.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely amazing. Uh, there's so many musicals that are just running through my head right now, but that's one of my favorites. Even something like The Blues Brothers is considered a musical, but it's more beloved as a comedy. So it's like
Yeah.
some of these genres kind of mishmash into one another, and I think over the years they've kind of just blended in to create like whole new genres like dramedies and action comedies, action horror, sci-fi horror, and stuff like that. These hybrid genres. Um, and I think Fantastic Fest is kind of it's not just, in my head when I first heard about the festival, I thought it was strictly horror because I knew a lot of people who went to it just to cover like a lot of the horror movies and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a mixture of genres.
Oh, yeah. We play basically anything we deem fantastical. So, we look for just boundary pushing movies, really exciting, innovative movies, black comedies. The Banshees of Inisherin, you might not think, you know, that's not a horror movie, but it's so bizarre and unique
I
and dark. So,
I feel like
yeah.
it's like a kind of an Irish folk tale in a way. That's
Yeah.
kind of the way I looked at it once I was done. I was like, it's kind of got like a folk horrorness to it in a way,
Yeah.
you know.
Y-
Yeah, and McDonough, his films are always black comedies. They're always dark comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Bruges, Three Billboards, and this film are
Seven
all dark
Psychopaths.
comedies.
Yeah.
Seven
Yeah.
Psychopaths is
Yeah.
another one. It's just all dark
Yeah.
comedies. You don't find yourself laughing out loud during them,
Oh, I
but
do.
there's humor in there. I guess
I
so.
definitely laughed at Banshees, but
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there were
yeah,
definitely times I did. I mean,
Yeah.
when it got towards but as the movie goes on, it got darker and more serious, I think, and
Yeah.
the comedy was a little more stripped away, which was just incredibly,
Yeah.
you know, achievable by him as a director. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
like I was saying, like Fantastic Fest has more to offer than just one genre. I think that was what I
Yeah,
was trying to
definitely,
say.
definitely. But I, so you're like you said, you're working on it now for this year, coming up. So you're in the middle of it, and
Oh,
oh,
she disappeared.
oh,
Oh, she's back.
sorry. Am I back? Yeah,
oh,
my
Yep.
internet is giving out, guys.
it's okay.
Um,
I'm just about to finish up with you here. Um, so yeah, so you're working on Fantastic Fest right now for 2023, and so um, anything you can divulge about
Yeah. Do you want
anything coming up
to
or
promote it? When can people buy
I
tickets or
mean,
passes?
I would love people to buy badges and come visit us September 21st through the 28th in Austin, Texas. We do have badges on sale. If you can't come for the full week, we do have a second half badge, which we show almost every movie twice. So we show them in the first 4 days and then the second 4 days. So if you can only get 4 days off work, come to the second half. That's also when we have like our legendary closing party because Fantastic Fest is not just known for our movies, we're also known for our crazy events, our crazy parties. Um, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. Our theme is 1980s occult. So we're going to do some, heavy metal stuff, some satanic
Nice.
panic stuff. Um, and we have locked down a really exciting world premiere of a big movie that I have been waiting on for over a year. I can't say anything else about it,
Okay.
but
All right.
really excited about that one. And then a handful of other amazing movies, that we've seen. A movie I saw at Berlin, that's one of my favorite movies of the year. Just lots of great stuff. So would love everyone to come. There's badges on our website. Yeah, that's my
Fantastic.
pitch. The movies are my sales pitch.
They sell themselves.
They
They
do.
do, they really do.
Please, everybody, go to it's the Fantastic Fest. You got to go. Um, Lisa, we very much appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and nerding out about movies and nerding about your job because you got one of the
Of
coolest jobs
course.
out there.
Oh,
Um,
it's fun. I'm lucky.
it, I just wish I just wish I could hang out at film festivals all the time because they're just so fun. But
I know.
Yeah, we gotta get
yeah,
you guys to Fantastic
Yeah.
Fest.
I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come down there one
Okay.
day.
All right.
But thank you, Lisa, and we hope you have a good rest of your night.
Of course. Thank you so much.
And we're back. Once again, thanks to Lisa for taking the time to talk with us. And now we're going to move on to our normal routine of Blu-ray announcements for the past week. And at first, we didn't think there was going to be much to talk about, but then Friday hit, and now we got some stuff to talk about. So
We do.
yeah,
Yeah, it was initially a very, very slow week, and then all of a sudden, at the last possible second, some major things dropped. But we'll get into that. But first, I think we want to talk about a couple of little things that happened earlier on in the week. I mean, it's little small stuff that I was able to pick up on and was able to watch. First up is a movie that's being put out by Classic Flicks. Once again, I bring up Classic Flicks because they're sneaky when it comes to these announcements. A lot of people don't really pick up on them because they're such a small company. But they're putting on a movie called Blonde Ice, which is just a cool title in general. As you can imagine, this movie came out in 1948. It's a noir film. It's kind of a B movie noir, I would say. I mean, it's getting a restoration from 35 millimeter elements, and it's an interesting film about all centered around a femme fatale,
Hmm.
a femme fatale who kind of gets married. Yeah, she gets married to someone and then plans on. Uh, well, I should say she kills him off, and then the rest of the film revolves around her trying not to get caught.
okay,
And she has these other relationships that she has, and there's a whole backstory about her and this other person. And initially, like she may be trying to frame him for this murder that happened. It's a really interesting film. It's a short film too. It's movie only clocks in at 74 minutes, so it's a nice, quite quick, breezy watch. And it's good. Like I said, it's a B noir. It's not really starring any major stars that you would know of, but it's got that classic noir feel. It's a murder mystery detective story, but it's not really a mystery because us as the viewers know who committed the crime. It's just watching everybody else try to piece things together, and you're seeing if this person's going to get caught or not, which is kind of fun. So that's
I like that. I like the change of perspective when it comes to certain stories. I think obviously one of the best filmmakers at doing that is Alfred Hitchcock.
yeah,
I think
that was his thing.
yeah, that was his thing, was changing the perspective, not necessarily making every mystery about finding out, viewing the mystery through the people that are trying to fit, like that are not behind it. It's like something classic like Rear Window, that would be like where our protagonist is trying to figure out the mystery. That's kind of a classic way of doing it. But then if you look at something like you know, something I'm trying to
Rope.
think Rope, yeah, they're in on it.
Liter
You're
The
in on
opening
the
of
whole
that
thing.
movie.
Yeah.
Not a spoiler. The opening of that movie is a murder. You
Yeah.
know who the murderers are,
Yeah.
and then you're trying to see if they're going to get caught the rest of that runtime.
What's the other one? The one that it's one of his early ones. The one with the young girl and his uncle is like a killer. What's the name of the movie that comes and stays with them? It's one
Oh,
of
you're
his
thinking of Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of a Doubt. Yeah, that one. You know he's a bad guy. You know there's something with him, but nobody else really does, except for the girl. And then like you could have that mystery of, is he actually bad, or like maybe she just thinks she's having bad, maybe it's just from in her head, but we know he's
He's a
sketchy.
bad guy on the run from the
Yeah,
law,
we know he is.
essentially.
So you could have made that a mystery, but he decides to let you know up front that this is a guy that. But it's that's I like how you're
Yeah.
describing this movie, is that it gives you that up front and then tells the story from a different perspective. So that's cool. That might be
Yeah, and
one.
also, Hitchcock does the wrong man scenario where we as the viewer know that the guy is innocent, but the people in the movie think he is a criminal or a bad
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And it's the whole time trying to kind of do the reverse of what I was just talking about, trying to prove your innocence, as opposed to, you know, the opposite of that. And it's kind of a fascinating how he was able to do both and kind of manipulate audiences, master of suspense, all that kind of stuff. But that's Blonde Ice, so that's kind of a cool thing. But moving on from there, I guess we can go over to Kino.
Okay.
Kino had a couple of interesting announcements this week. Not much, kind of stuff we knew was on the horizon, or stuff that had been announced before, but we'll get into it. So first up is actually a re-release or a reissue, and I believe it is of the movie The Package. I think this is a re-release. The Package from 1989, starring Gene Hackman, and Tommy Lee Jones is in the film as well. It's from director Andrew Davis, who directed The Fugitive,
Yeah.
starring Tommy Lee Jones, who I believe won an Oscar for that film. So there's the connection right there. Of course, we all know who Gene Hackman is and all that kind of stuff. This is kind of a political espionage thriller. Um, you've got some other character actors in here like Dennis Franz, Pam Grier, John Hurd, um, and this is a film that Steven, I know you've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so there's a plot going on to assassinate some type of government official from the USSR who's making a trip to the United States, and it's about like how the military or someone from the U.S. military and the USSR military have teamed up to kind of make this happen, and then Gene Hackman's character kind of uncovers it accidentally and is trying to prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
That's the general gist of the film. Did I get that right?
Yeah. 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 I mean,
Yeah,
and feels like a season of 24 or
really
something.
does.
But it's yeah. I mean, it's yeah. It's a solid watch. It's like kind of a nice. We describe it this way a lot, like a Sunday afternoon watch. Like it's not anything too heady, even though a lot of political movies try to get heady. But really, it's kind of straightforward. It kind of makes me feel like it's a movie that Wolfgang Peterson would have made in the 90s. Air Force One, something in that vein where it's like an action movie, but it also is shrouded in a lot of political views, usually very pro-American. Um,
Do you think this is a quote unquote dad movie before the concept of a dad movie existed?
it's like the 80s version of a dad movie. Like
Yeah, just because it has Gene Hackman in it.
Gene
That's
Hack,
why I feel like.
I think of another Gene Hackman movie, one of my favorite movies, um, the Tony Scott submarine
What
movie,
I
um,
think I was almost
uh,
gonna say Crimson.
Crimson Peak, Crimson
No,
Tide,
yeah,
Crimson
Crimson
Tide,
Tide.
Crimson Peak. That's a Guillermo del Toro movie. Um, but yeah, that makes me think of stuff like that. Military movies about you know government plots, or them are kind of like dad movies, kind of. Because we made fun of not too last year, we made fun of that one slate from Indicator that was like all war movies
Oh
from like the
yeah,
60s as being like dad month, and
yeah. They
like
were all like it was all like war movies or movies like on the
battleship
high
movies.
seas
Yeah,
with like
yeah,
ships and stuff like
yeah.
that, and it was just like yeah,
And I think the
you did
80s
mention that.
version of that can be like the government conspiracy movies can kind of be. I don't know. I've only been a dad for about 5 minutes,
Yeah, I know. So you got a lot of catching up to do.
It's something. No, I've been a dad for almost a year now, and I don't know what dad movies in today's world is. What's dad movies in present day?
Remember that
Probably
Tom
Marvel
Hanks?
movies. Probably Marvel movies.
Remember that Tom Hanks movie where he's like a submarine admiral or captain,
Yes, the one
like
that
that,
nobody,
like
one that went to Apple that
the
nobody
one that was
watched.
on Apple.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I guess would be considered a dad movie
not
or
today. I don't think that's dad movies today. I think comic book movies are dad movies today.
no. I mean,
Today,
you're technically right in the sense that that generation is now becoming parents,
yeah.
or our later generation is now becoming parents. But I think it's more of the type of movie versus the audience that's watching it. I don't know. It's kind
No,
of
no, no. I get what you're
yeah,
saying, but I think that the dad movie has evolved with the different
with the
dads.
changing of the times.
Yeah, yeah. So back then, like the '80s version, the dads of the '80s might have looked at movies like The Package as probably maybe like a dad. It could fit in that category, I think. But now today, I think all the dads are nerds. They're like young guys like me or you or like
Well, I'm thinking, yeah. What's ironically the kind of, I mean, it's kind of insane to me the way time has moved on that our generation is now parents.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not a concept. It's because I'm still wrapping my head around. When I think of dads, I think of like our parents. You
of
know what I
course.
mean? Like that's the generation I think of as parents in quotes. Um,
You could
yeah,
be a parent right now, but you're not.
yeah, but
So that you remember that.
very true. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't take a lot to become a parent
No,
these
it
days.
doesn't.
You know what I mean?
It literally takes 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
for many,
for a lot of
for
guys,
many.
it takes very short amount of time to make a
Yeah,
baby.
very true.
But,
But I
yeah,
just wrapping my head around the concept of,
yeah,
our generation becoming adults is still insane to me. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Time moves on by way too quickly.
Yes, it
But
does.
that's the package from
It's a solid
Kino.
movie. I Tommy Lee Jones is really kinda
He's really good in
sinister.
it.
He's really sinister in it. He's kind of he's good at playing I mean, he plays in a lot of movies as military types. Even, going to a little bit later, of course, you said The Fugitive, but he did U.S. Marshals, which is like the sequel. He did that. What was that one he did more recently? The Valley of Eli, where his son's like a
No, that was
military.
towards the later part of his
Yeah,
career. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you know what his last film was?
Oh shit, what was his last movie?
His last film is Welcome to Mooseport
Well,
with
you're
Ray
talking about Gene
Romano,
Hackman. I'm talking about
Gene
Tommy Lee
Hackman.
Jones. Tommy
Oh, you're
Lee
talking about
Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I said
gee.
in the Valley of Eli. He's not
Oh,
Gene
yeah. I don't know.
Hackman.
I don't know why I
We talk
didn't
about
register. Yeah, Tommy
Fugitive.
Lee Jones is still acting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
kind of.
yeah.
Not really
Oh,
around.
yeah, he was in a movie in 2020, The Comeback Trail.
Yeah, who
He's
saw
got
that?
2 upcoming movies. What's that?
I said I don't know
What's the co
anybody that have never heard of that one.
Oh, neither have I. I
But
can tell you this, Robert De Niro's in it, Morgan Freeman's in it, Emile Hirsch is in it,
wow, well, I didn't see
Zach
that one. I missed
Braff.
that one. But
Damn.
let's move on from the package.
Yeah, let's move on to another. It's a war movie, but it's not a war espionage type
This is a
movie.
dad movie. This is a dad
This
movie.
is The Bridges at Toko Ri. I was waiting so many years for this to get a Blu-ray announcement, and it was finally put out by Imprint, and I bought it during their Black Friday sale. And then at least a week later, this was announced, and now we're getting details on it. The Bridges at Toko Ri came out 1954, starring William Holden. This is directed by Mark Robson, and he directed Von Ryan's Express. And this is a movie. It's taking place during the Korean War, which doesn't get a lot of love on film. The Korean War, it was a very short, at least the United States part was a very short window. Doesn't get the play that World War II got, or Vietnam, because it is sandwiched in between those two kind of more politicized, more heavily studied, more heavily talked about wars, because we're still kind of living in the remnants of that, culturally. But this is a movie, who I mean, this is a movie where it centers around the character of Harry Brubaker, portrayed by William Holden, and he is like a naval pilot, and he's particularly in a rather tumultuous place in the South Pacific, or in, around Korea, really. So that's not really quite the South Pacific, but you understand what I am geographically. He's married to Grace Kelly, who is a star who's way, way too young to be his wife in the movie. Frederick March is in the film as well. Mickey Rooney is in the film as well, and he is sent on like dangerous missions to bomb certain aerial places that are like deep in enemy territory and stuff like that. So it's one of those types of like gripping, warfare types of films. I'm not doing the best job of describing it because I haven't seen the movie in quite a little bit. But I remember wanting to buy it because I believe that Grace Kelly was nominated for an Oscar for it, and I wanted to get it specifically for that reason, or at least wanted to watch it. And yeah, actually, it won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. She wasn't nominated for an Oscar for it. I was thinking of something else. But Mark Robson was nominated for Best Director at the Directors Guild. Interesting. So so set during the Korean War, a Navy fighter pilot must come to terms with his own ambivalence towards the war and the fear of having to bomb a set of highly defended bridges. The ending of this grim war drama is all tension.
Mm.
That is the movie.
Okay.
Solid movie. I love William Holden. I'll buy anything, own anything, watch anything with William Holden in it. So this was an easy mark for me. Unfortunately, I got the imprint release already, but if you have the imprint release and are wondering what the difference is, I believe this has a brand new HD master from a 4K scan, that the imprint release didn't have. So this may look better, and this has a new audio commentary as well. So that's probably the main difference. So I'll move on from Bridge at Tokori. So next up, we've got another movie that was announced a while ago, and this was kind of a big super upgrade, and this is The Manchurian Candidate from 1962. This is quite possibly, I mean, one of the best films that John Frankenheimer ever directed, right in his wheelhouse. John Frankenheimer loved his political thrillers of the day. 7 Days in May, The Train, Seconds, Ronin is another, all great films from him. We'll actually be talking about Ronin rather quickly. Now, this movie's gotten released a couple of times already. This got a regular Blu-ray release from MGM. This got a Blu-ray release from Criterion, and this now has a 4K release from Kino. So all different releases from three different
Yeah.
companies, and you may be wondering what the differences are between the three. Well, I can definitely say that from the MGM release to this release, those two have the same exact special features. The difference is that the Criterion does have, I believe, stuff that this one doesn't have, specifically a brand new interview that Angela Lansbury did several years ago. But this does have an older Angela Lansbury interview as well. They're not the same. Obviously, one is older, one is newer. So that's kind of the only major difference that pops into my head. I don't think I have to explain the Manchurian Candidate to people. I think a lot of people know this movie. Um, so yeah, it's a fantastic, amazing, one of the best political thrillers, I guess you could say, of all time. It's constantly referenced in pop culture and stuff like that. I mean, we just talked about superhero movies. They literally referenced it in one of them in uh, Captain America: Civil War. There's a plot line literally in that of the Manchurian Candidate.
You mean
Uh,
Winter Soldier?
the Winter
Yeah.
Soldier is a Manchurian
Yeah. Yeah.
Candidate where he is an activated, brainwashed sleeper
Yeah.
cell, and that you say certain words and it activates him, and you can tell him who to assassinate, and he will do it. Without questioning it because he's brainwashed. There's a whole special feature, I think, in here or on one of the releases that goes into the concept of brainwashing and stuff like that, because that really wasn't a thing at the time when this movie was made. It's kind of a concept we've come up with and talked about a lot over the years. Um, so yeah, I I don't know if people necessarily need to upgrade to this if you already have the Criterion, or if you already have, if you have the original release, definitely upgrade to at least the Criterion or this one, just because it's gonna look a hell of a lot better. Um, and you may get a few more special features in there. But I know there's gonna be a lot of people upgrading to this, and it's really tempting.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
I've
really,
said
really
it many
tempting.
times when this guy has gotten brought up many times on the show. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I've seen the Denzel. I've
Do
seen the
you own it?
Denzel one, but I haven't seen this one.
Do you own
No,
it?
I don't own it. So
Oh, so see, Steven's a perfect
yeah,
candidate.
I guess I am. I just it's one of them things. It's what I think I've even tried to start watching this movie, and something happens every time I start trying to watch this movie, um, and I just never finished it. So um, yeah, yeah, I get it. It's a classic. I'm gonna get around to it eventually. But I have seen this
All
next
right.
one, um, White Dawn.
You've seen The
I
White
watched the
Dawn?
White Dawn. Yes.
Really cool. Good, because I didn't get to see it, so you can tell me
Yeah,
what it's
sure.
about.
The White Dawn's from 1974. We have Warren Oates, Timothy Button, Louis Gazette Jr. And this is it's directed by Philip Kaufman. He did like the 60s versions of The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Wanderers, The Right Stuff. And this film is essentially a survival movie. It's set like in the late, like late 1800s. Like it's like 1890 something. And these seamen who are making their way, up north in Canada, around the, you know, kind of center, the Arctic up there, the North Pole. They get crashed and they get rescued by the Eskimos up there and get taken in and learn about their culture and everything. But they, specifically, I believe it's the character played by Warren Oates wants to obviously leave and go back home, and he keeps trying to find ways to leave, and at the um, detriment of their survival, because they don't know how to survive this type of climate, and the Eskimo people know how to do it. And every time that they try to leave, they're like stealing shit, and like they're not making friends the more they try to leave. And it's really kind of an interesting kind of man versus nature kind of thing. And how the presence, it almost kind of is about like indigenous people, and like once the white people, kind of like of course our Native American stories here in America, once some, the white males came in and started trying to bring their ways of doing things, and kind of messed up the whole ecosystem in a way, of like how things are done. Like you steal a few fish from these people, it really puts their shit, it puts them at risk if they don't have food for just a little bit, because it takes a lot of effort to get food to survive their winters and their the way that they live. And so like their presence becomes a bad thing there. And it's a very much a survivor story, very much about um, you know, cultures clashing, and it's a solid movie. I wouldn't say I loved it. It's a little dry. Um, but it's got its moments, and it's pretty brutal when it wants to be too. Um, and if there's any, I don't know how accurate the lifestyles of these Eskimos are portrayed in the movie, but seemed pretty authentic, I guess. I mean it, but it was and they all seemed very authentic. The actors might have even have been not non actors playing these roles. So um, solid movie, solid, kind of survival film. Um, yeah, I mean, it's worth a check out. I wouldn't. I would say check it out before you buy it. See if it's for you. But yeah, that's White Dawn. Sorry, excuse me, I almost burped. That was White Dawn.
That's okay. Yeah, I will say this: Philip Kaufman directed The Right Stuff, like Steven said. That's a fantastic movie. The Right Stuff is an amazing film. I don't know when that's going to get a 4K release. I assume sometime, eventually, soon. I
That's a
hope.
Warner Brothers. I think that's Warner
Um,
Brothers too, isn't it?
yeah, it is. I know because there's a digibook release of it that I've had for
Yeah, me too.
years. The Right Stuff, yeah, is a fantastic film. I know they've done a did Apple do, I think, like a TV series on The Right Stuff, like a TV version of an adaptation, I believe, of that story. But The Right Stuff is all about essentially like the founding of our space program,
Yeah,
really, developing just the rockets and the Mercury program and trying to get a man to space and stuff like that. So that's like before trying to get to the moon. You know, you gotta inch yourself towards that goal. You can't just go straight for the moon. But it's a really great story, great cast in there. This movie, White Dawn, interesting note is that it is shot by Michael Chapman, who shot who was the DP on Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. So he worked with Martin Scorsese. Music by Henry Mancini, who did like The Pink Panther and Touch of Evil. Um, yeah, so it had some pedigree behind the camera at least, and some good stuff in front of it. You know, I like Warren Oates, Timothy Bottoms, Louis Gossett Jr. I think is more famous. I think for his critically acclaimed role in is yeah, I think Louis Gossett Jr. was in An Officer and a Gentleman, if memory serves. Um, yeah, just yelling at what's his name's character the whole time. Um, yeah, that is the movie that he was in. The movie with Richard Gere and Deborah Winger, Robert Loggia. Yeah, the movie that's a great film.
I remember. I
That's another
remember.
great film. That's
I remember him in Lean on Me. He was the
oh
principal that he was the superintendent, I believe, that gets Morgan Freeman to come out of retirement to come be the principal at that shitty school. I believe
ah
that's him.
gotcha.
Might, you know what? I think I'm thinking of somebody else. It's a
Oh,
different
okay.
actor, but either way, Lean on Me. You should watch Lean on Me. It's a good movie. But
Well, coincidentally, it was. I mean, An Officer and a Gentleman was directed by Taylor Hackford, who I think has done an intro for another for an upcoming box set that we're going to talk about. Um,
that's a
maybe I don't know
weird
because I remember
that's a
seeing his
weird
name recently.
transition.
It's a weird transition. I don't know, not the best transition I've ever
You
made,
didn't have to
Steven.
make a transition, but you tried to force one.
Yeah, I know, and what's crazy is I'm not even going to transition to that
That's
place. It's just I saw the name Taylor Hackford. I'm like,
it's
that
getting
sounds
weirder.
familiar
It's
to
getting
me.
weirder, man.
It's getting weirder by the day. Well, let's get weird with
Okay,
TerrorVision because TerrorVision
that
did
is weird.
have an announcement of 2, and putting out weird stuff is their
Yep.
thing. So, we got one here that we knew was coming out because it was initially announced when TerrorVision was kind of launching, kind of breaking out of the Vinegar Syndrome place that it was in. And this is the how to say it? Linnea Quigley's Horror Workout. Um, this is an interesting film that's kind of a satire of those workout video VHSs that people would get back in the day, in the 80s and whatnot, and it would just be, instructions on how to work
Yeah.
out. It's a parody of that, but also there's a horror twist to it where just like a zombie outbreak happens and like some monsters are around and just terrorizing people and killing people and it's super low budget. Um, it's exactly kind of what you expect it to be, maybe even less.
So are they like
It's just
exercising and then killing things while exercising?
it's like exercising and then all of a sudden like zombies like show up. It's and even then that's not even what it is. It's so hard to describe. Like yeah, even the IMDb and the IMDb synopsis is ridiculous. Um yeah, that's exactly kind of what happens.
Well, I'm sure there's a market for that. So
I mean, yeah, it's a weird kind of interesting, unique thing to have in your collection. Um, Certainly not for everyone, but what is maybe a little bit more on the traditional narrative side of things is Get My Gun, which is a movie that came out, I want to say 2017, 2018.
17. Yeah.
And this is a more traditional, like I said, plot wise, where there's this young woman, Amanda, portrayed by Kate Hoffman, who works at, I want to say, a motel, kind of looked like a motel hotel. You know what I mean? Not exactly a 5-star
Yeah.
place. And the movie initially starts out when you see kind of where the plot is going, but it takes a few avenues. But she is working at a motel slash hotel and as a maid, maid service and kind of walking and cleaning the rooms and whatnot. And she spends her days going in and out of the rooms, cleaning it. And it's one of those like shadier type places where people rent by the hour. You know what I'm talking about, Steven?
I've never done that.
Um, oh no, of course not. I'm just saying you've heard of them.
Yes, I
You've heard
have.
of them.
Yeah.
And So she's training another young woman and they become friends. But what happens is one day she is sexually, violently sexually assaulted, and she ends up having to live with that consequence. And the consequence of that is she is now pregnant. So she's trying to figure out what to do with her life, dealing with the trauma, dealing with this massive event in her life. And she decides to put the baby up for
You're telling
adoption.
the whole
But the
story.
but you
No,
kind of
you
have
don't.
to.
You can
But
stop.
things get. I'll cut it off there. Things get weird from there, and it becomes both quasi revenge story as well as a survival
Yeah.
story.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah. That like it's simply it's a rape revenge movie where there's a little bit more of a in-depth twist. It tries to avoid the revenge part for as long as it can until it can't.
It falls within that
Yeah.
genre. We've talked with Alexandra Helen Nicholas about that, so I would have been interested to see what her take is on this because the movie is that, but it's way more of something
Yeah.
else than that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I don't I could be misremembering, but I believe she did do something for this release.
Oh,
So
I'm actually on the
yeah.
website now. Oh, speaking of which, um, an audio essay from author Alexandra
There you
Helen
go.
Nicholas is one of the special
That's
features.
it.
There you go. So if you want her take on it, you can get this release from TerrorVision. This is limited to 2,000 units, and I'm not sure if the other one is as well. Let me take a look. Also limited to 3,000 units.
Okay.
Okay, for
More
Lynn
people are gonna need
Quigley's
that
horror
workout
workout.
video, you know? Um,
I
yeah.
guess so.
But Get My
But
Guns
yeah, TerrorVision's putting out all kinds of
yeah, Get
stuff.
My Guns pretty solid. I kinda liked it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's a low budget indie film, solid acting, kind of not a simple concept, but well executed
yeah.
concept.
I do like the very last shot of the movie. The very last
Oh,
shot,
nice.
which, like, gives you the exclamation point on what the beginning is. Like, the beginning it's one of the movies where it starts at the beginning is the end of the movie, and, like, you get the last shot that puts the exclamation point on the last thing that she does at the end, and I'm like, "Wow, that was cool." And then that's it, you know?
It's got that grindhouse font
Yes.
for the credits. Did
Yeah,
you notice
yeah.
that?
It is have a grindhouse feel to it.
It's
Yeah.
got a grindhouse concept
Yeah.
to it, um, when you get into the plot of the movie. So yeah, solid indie film. I would
Yeah.
recommend it. Where did you watch it streaming?
Yes, I think it was on I wanna say it was on Tubi.
I think it may have been on Tubi. There was a lot of stuff we watched this week that was available on Tubi, and available in other places. I will say this: not all of the Tubi-like streaming platforms are the same. Some are insufferably bogged down by commercials and ads.
Some yeah, and then
Just
it turns
absolutely
a
ridiculous.
hour and 20-minute movie into a 2-hour movie. Uh,
It kills the momentum because some I don't know what their algorithm is like, but some of them know where to put the commercials. Some of them put the ads in the middle of scenes, like
yeah,
middle of sentences, and it kills it because the ads go on for like at least 3, 4, 5
yeah.
minutes sometimes. But yes, Get My Gun is available on Tubi and available on Plex. You can rent it from Amazon, Vudu, Apple, all that stuff. Um, but yeah, so moving on from TerrorVision, I guess we can. Where do you want to go? Because we got two big things to
Let's talk
talk
about
about.
Bruce Lee.
Talk about Bruce Lee. Here we
Alright,
go.
so Bruce Lee, we it was teased some weeks ago. We got a quick little teaser thing that we basically guessed that Bruce Lee was involved in it. Um, Coming from Arrow, and now we finally get the official announcement that we are getting a 4K box set of most of the films in 4K, except for one. We'll get to that. Of Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest. It's getting a Arrow exclusive release through their site that has different artwork, and then there's another one that will be the more readily available one with artwork by a guy Tony Silla did the artwork for that one. So
Yeah, Tony still did the artwork for the regular
the more readily
release.
available release, and
Yeah,
I got to find the name for
and he
the person that did the one on their exclusive. And let's see, I'm looking for it, looking for it. Well, it says Tony Stello on this one too, so maybe he did do both of
okay.
them, but I don't know. I thought I heard somebody say that somebody else did the artwork for the second one, or maybe this is just messed up. But somebody please correct us out there if they hear this. But yes, the Bruce Lee release from Golden Harvest, we get essentially all of the movies that we're used to seeing in these
Yeah,
10 other
I
Bruce
was
Lee
just gonna
sets that
say,
we've gotten.
these Bruce Lee films, because he only did a certain number of films before before he passed away tragically, and these movies have been released in so many different formats over the decades, and especially in the last several years.
And
So
in many
you probably
in
own
many
these.
different labels. Shout Factory's put out Bruce Lee stuff.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. So Shout Factory put out a set years ago. And that set ended up having certain issues with it, specifically when it came to the picture quality of some of the movies. Apparently, they were supplied with the wrong masters from the company that had the masters in China, I believe. And they had to then reissue that set with the corrected picture quality, and that was the Bruce Lee: The Legacy Collection. That came out in 2013 to kind of coincide, I believe, with the anniversary of Bruce Lee's death. And then they released those movies individually through their Shout Select line, and they also released those movies individually in two double feature releases as well. And yeah, and then they released them in a smaller standard, the Bruce Lee Premiere Collection that had all those movies minus all the bells and whistles and the extra discs. Trust me, this is a mess.
Yeah.
And then I think all of that is now out of print because Criterion in 2020 put out Bruce Lee His Greatest Hits that has um those that has these movies in it plus Enter the Dragon as well. So there's so much Bruce Lee stuff to go around. It's it's
Yeah.
incredible. And then and just off the top of my head, I was telling Steven before the show, Enter the Dragon is owned by Warner Brothers, and so Warner Brothers has put that out several times on DVD, on Blu-ray twice. They put out a 40th anniversary edition of that um, just a couple of years ago. They're gonna re-release it again in 4K sometime
Yeah.
soon. So yeah, this is a long history that I just summed up in like a couple minutes. But this set here, they are touting it as the definitive set. Whether it is the definitive set, I guess remains to be seen because they have to announce all of the details with it still, but we've got a good chunk of what those details are. And yeah, it's an extensive set.
Yeah. It's as you said, all the films are getting new 4K restorations. Um, and then in 4K discs that's set for Enter the Dragon, which will have uh, I believe, just a high definition 1080. Yeah, because I don't see anything saying Enter the Dragon's getting a new restoration here. Um,
Right, I think it may be the same restoration that's been around for a while. So I believe this set is coming with 6 films, and 5 out of the 6 films are no, 4 out of the 6 films are getting 4K restorations. The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, The Way of the Dragon, and Game of Death. What's getting a brand new 2K restoration is Game of Death
mm,
2. And then what is just available on a separate Blu-ray is going to be the 40th anniversary edition of Enter the
yeah,
Dragon. That's where the 6th movie comes in. Um, yeah, there's like different cuts on most of these films.
yeah. There's
There's
multiple,
brand new commentaries,
yeah, multiple alternative cuts, extended Mandarin cuts, um, and
the new
yeah.
documentary. There's yeah, there's
There's
a
tons
bunch
of
of stuff.
there's tuna documentaries here
Yeah,
about Lee's fighting and working methods, and there's tons of new interviews, a new feature length video essay. There's going to be tons of new extras on this thing, and that's where I think every
and then there's archive features too. Um, and there's a 200-page hardbound
yeah,
book that's coming
yeah.
with this. This is going to be a hefty set in weight, not just in concept. And 24 lobby cards. Yeah, full artwork to be revealed on April 28th. So uh, that for those of you listening to this in the future, you'll know what the full details are. Um, Yeah, this is a massive set and undertaking by Arrow. I mean, they've been putting out all kind of Golden Harvest and Shawscope stuff. This fits right into it.
Yeah, and with what they're doing with, they know that the packaging alone is going to get a lot of us in. Um, yeah,
Yeah, if these are in individual, I mean, if these are in individual discs, I mean, this is gonna be a gigantic set. I mean, it's gonna be just massive. I'm That's what I'm curious to see what the full reveal is going to be. I mean, I would assume they would package.
it
Um,
looks like it's about the size of that Zhang
yeah.
Zhimo set.
What's interesting is it is coming. It is a 10 disc set, so
It's probably like probably probably
that's a
like
lot
a
of
bigger
discs.
version. Like if you took Zhang Zhimo's set from Imprint and like made it just a little bit bigger. It's like in that around that size.
Okay.
It's what it looks like at
Yeah,
least.
it looks like to be a square bound set versus the rectangular one we saw for
Yeah.
Shawscope. I mean, I'm hoping it's more a traditional type of packaging than the Shawscope set. The Shawscope sets are cool, but I know a lot of people are not fans of those
Yeah,
kind of
not not
book
not
type
not as shelf friendly. Yeah.
sets. And not only that's not shelf friendly, just the way the discs are kind of just like in sleeves essentially or in pockets is not usually the best thing. Or even if it's, you know, situated on that. It's never usually the best thing. And those sets, yeah, I mean, and I haven't had any issue with them, but those book type sets tend to break down over time just by existing. The glue starts to wear away and the pages start coming apart. And I've heard horror stories that happens a lot with Criterion. To be straight,
Yeah.
I mean, specifically with their Agnes Varda set, with their Gojira set, the Godzilla set. That's happened to people with a bunch of their releases.
No,
That's
it's
just the way
yeah.
it
That
is.
some things
Things are not made to.
this
You know,
stuff is sitting on shelves with the weight of gravity on it.
yeah. Damn
I know,
gravity.
right?
9 meters per. What's it like? 9 meters per second. 9.8 meters per second is gravitational
Yeah.
force. If anybody was
Yeah.
curious
Oh,
about that,
Jesus, nerd.
I was thinking of that the other day. Don't ask me why. My mind moves in
Were you just
mysterious
sitting
ways all
there
the
and you
time.
felt the weight of the world and you were like, I know that the calculation of gravity on me right now is this, and that's why I'm so tired right now.
Well, the thing is I used to have a teacher back in high school, um, and he used to always say what gravity was, um, and it was always 9.8 meters per second. Was That's why everything would fall at the same rate. I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of weird.
Oh, well,
So I was just thinking of that the other day, and I was like, "Ah, what is gravitational force?" Oh yeah, 9.8 meters per second squared, I think, or something like that. Don't
man,
ask me
man,
why I'm
man,
getting into
man
physics.
Jerry and candidate here. Um,
Yeah, I know
yeah,
exactly. This is why I watch Jeopardy every night. This is
dude,
the kind of information that gets
this
through my head.
guy,
You
this
know what?
guy, I got on
Yeah,
him the other night. He was like, I was like, hey, can we talk for a minute? I asked some things to run by you. Yeah, I just gotta watch Jeopardy first. So this guy couldn't take time to talk to me because he needed to watch his old man Jeopardy show. He's like, I can't miss
yeah,
Jeopardy.
yeah. Just don't be jealous. Don't be jealous now. My mind's a finely tuned
No, it's a
machine.
good thing. It's a good thing. I wish I had a routine. My mind is mush. So I'm glad you still do workouts.
I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, I don't do physical workouts. I do mental
Well,
gymnastics.
you
I
got to do
guess.
something, man.
Um, You gotta do something, but let's move on to something more mentally stimulating. That is the Criterion Collection decided to drop their July titles a little bit earlier this month. A little couple of days earlier than they usually do. We got ourselves quite a selection, Steven. I was excited about
Yeah, it's
this.
pretty diverse and finally we can put to rest some damn rumors that have been going
The
on
rumors,
seamlessly from the beginning. Criterion was a thing. It's like, when is this release going to come out? When is this release going to come out? Well, fucking finally, After Hours has been released.
I know. And everybody can now not complain every single month when it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
announced.
announced. Thank God they finally announced this shit. Because every time there's a poll about what next month's release is going to be, there everybody's like, After Hours is finally going to come in. It's finally it is actually here. Um, so yeah, let's just
Yeah, for me,
yeah
it used to be La
yeah
Strada.
yeah
La Strada was my after hours because for years it would only be that old DVD 2 disc edition of La Strada would be sitting on shelves, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Where's this Blu-ray release?" And then finally they announced the Fellini set, and I was like, "There it is, finally." But I guess let's get into it. So we've got a group of what's that, 1, 2, 5 releases, including a box
Yeah.
set. And the 5 releases are One False Move, which is getting a 4K UHD release, the Carl Franklin film. Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless is getting a 4K UHD release. And then we're getting a 4K UHD box set release of the renowned Westerns 5 films directed by Bud Bedecker. And then we're getting a 4K release of After Hours. Yes, 4K UHD release of After Hours, and then a regular Blu-ray edition of The Watermelon Woman, the Cheryl Dunye film. Finally, this is getting some type of Blu-ray release. Feels like this is taking forever, and me yelling into the void to finally make it happen. But Steven, where do you want to start? What are you most excited about?
Well, I'll say that now that I've actually finally watched it, After Hours, because
All
it was
right, yeah, because was it the
I
first time you ever
first time
seen
I
it?
watched it, I was kind of waiting for a Blu-ray to drop, but then I was like, I guess it's on HBO Max, easy to get to. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this, and didn't disappoint, man. I really liked it.
I'm glad you liked it because it's a movie that seems to be a little polarizing when it comes to Martin Scorsese fans and just fans in general because it's a lot different than what he was doing at that time. This is the movie he did, I believe, right after Raging Bull.
No, it's
And
right after King of Comedy.
oh,
It's
really?
King of Com,
Wow.
and then after this, he did Last Temptation of Christ. Then he
Goodness
goes,
great. Talk about completely
yeah,
different just minefield of movies. I mean, it's yeah, so this is a movie that like I was kind of saying conceptually is very much in a different area that he was vibrating in at the time, and it's a different area that I think we view him as a filmmaker. You know what I mean? People have this stigma around Martin Scorsese of him being like a specific type of filmmaker when I think he's delved in several different genres very
yeah.
successfully. I mean, he's not just the director of gangster movies. He's not just the director of dramas. I mean, he did do After Hours and King of Comedy, back to back, and those are very much comedies. I mean,
They're
After
definitely
Hours
comedies
is
with
unique.
like this like kind of edge to them. They're not necessarily straight
Mm,
up comedies. They're you know, I would say After Hours is definitely more of a comedy than I think King of Comedy is
it's more of a tragedy,
yeah, King of Comedy is like a dark comedy that
like a sad comedy.
it's
Like
like
this, we shouldn't be laughing. This guy needs
it's a
help.
disturbing
You
comedy.
know?
After Hours is actually like honestly like it is a comedy, but it's also got that edge that Martin Scorsese can bring because he's a New York guy and the movie's in New York and he in New York at that time was a very dark place, a lot of craziness going on and so it's one of the movies that I think obviously was a very big inspiration for a lot of people, but obviously it was a big inspiration on the Safdies for their movie Good Time because it's essentially Good Time, but Good Time's much more serious. And of course, we've talked about other movies that probably influenced that movie, like Mikey and Nikki, and what's the other movie that gets referenced a lot as being a big the one the one that's Fun City put out, Born to Win. Another big one
Yes,
that
Born to Win.
influenced Safdies for their movie Good Time, and yeah, After Hours. If you don't know the movie, you have your lead character,
Portrayed by Griffin
yeah,
Dunn.
who um, I guess is like an office guy, office worker type, and then
He's like a regular
yeah, just
dude.
a regular guy. Um, I guess he's in kind of middle management, but he leaves out for the night and is kind of goes out on the town a little bit, tries to maybe meet somebody, and he does, and then just the night kind of there's no real plot to the movie. It's a series of events that leads him down further and further into the rabbit hole, which is New York City streets, you know, and it leads him down many different and crossing paths of many different types of people and different characters throughout a whole night of just crazy shit happening. and it's
Yeah, he just has a really bad night out on the
yeah,
town. Just like one catastrophe after another keeps happening to him, and absurd things keep
yeah,
happening to him. You know what I mean? It's just like it kind of reminds me of like what was that movie with Jack Lemmon, The Out of
yeah,
Towners, where just like everything that could go
yeah.
wrong goes wrong, and it's just
You
unavoidable
you kn you know
stuff.
what you know what
And
else it kinda made me think of that might have inspired later, which it makes me think a little bit of, um, the, Big Lebowski. It has a little bit of that Big Lebowski-ness
oh,
to it,
okay,
where
yeah.
there's, like, very unique characters that you run into. Some are very, just out there. Like especially the artist girl is kind of like out there. Kind of makes me think of, um, what's her name from Julianne. Uh,
Julianne
yeah,
Moore.
Julianne Moore from The Big Lebowski. Her character way more out there. But just like very, John Hurd shows up in this as a bartender, and just his character is like a really normal guy, wants to help him out. And then that whole situation goes wrong when he goes to his apartment to try to get some keys. I was like, just every fucking thing bad happens for this guy everywhere. It is a good movie, man. I enjoyed it a lot, and of course we can't not bring up previous guest on the show, Sister Hyde did the Drusilla Allen did the artwork for this. She was teasing this.
Yes, she
Yeah, she
did.
was teasing this on our podcast that she had a big one coming up, and this was it. So
This is a big
yeah,
one. This is one that this has been asked for literally years.
yeah,
This has been asked for like before we started our podcast here. This has been asked for forever, and the reason being is because they put out so much Scorsese.
yeah.
They put out what Last Temptation of Christ. They put out um,
Irish,
The
yeah,
Irishman. His shorts. They put out. They put out the and
Raging
he's
Bull,
been
and
Raging Bull, I forgot
just
about that.
recently, yeah,
The Age of Innocence. They put out The Last Waltz. I mean, I believe he was also was he director? Yeah, he was a director on Rolling Thunder Review, the Bob Dylan
and of course he
documentary.
has his
Um,
uh, project, his World Cinema Project
yeah,
box sets.
the World Cinema Project, that's all him. He's been working with Criterion for many, many
Yeah,
years about, preserving films, getting these restorations out there. The Red Shoes, of
yeah,
course, is popped into my head immediately. Just the and other Italian film and other films that are from Italian cinema as well. I mean, he's done introductions, he's done interviews, he's done all kinds of stuff when it comes to presenting these films. So Martin Scorsese and him go hand in hand. Uh, uh, Martin Scorsese and Criterion go hand in hand. So this is a big, big review. I can finally upgrade my DVD. But moving on from there, just because there's just so much we could say about After Hours. But before I move on, I'm kind of going all over the place. This movie is significantly important in Martin Scorsese's career because he was about to quit filmmaking before he made this film. He was trying to get funding for The Last Temptation of Christ, his passion project of the time, and he could not get it. So he was basically going to quit filmmaking. And then he made this movie and it reinvigorated his love for making movies once again. And then obviously his career went on from there. Um, yeah.
yeah,
So that's why After Hours I think is super important.
yeah, yeah. And then and maybe he needed to take a break from serious the subject matters, to do something like this.
True. I mean, he was also going through a lot of
Oh, there
personal
was a lot.
stuff
Yeah,
at the
he
time.
was like a lot of people in that time doing drugs.
He was yeah, he was on
Yeah,
drugs and he was having issues, personal issues with relationships and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But obviously he kind of rebounded from all that and his career's going on. But moving on from there, um, I where do you
Well,
want to go?
Breathless,
Because
real
what
quick,
stuff else we
Breathless
know?
is getting a 4K restoration upgrade.
Yeah,
Breathless,
I don't think we really have to talk about
no, because
Breathless.
it did get a
It's
restoration. I believe Studio Canal put out a 4K, not that long
yes,
ago. And so this is just,
and
yeah,
Breathless is
yeah.
yeah. Breathless is the probably the quintessential Criterion film. I feel like everyone has this in their collection if they have a Criterion collection. Like if there's Criterion 101, I feel like it's Breathless is in there. Breathless, 400 Blows, those types of films. I feel like are the starter pack of
I
Criterion.
mean, I guess if Criterion
They're
could
in there.
choose the starter pack, it would be. But I don't know that it's one that
Very
everybody
much
wants
so.
to get because I think there's some people
E-
that are interested in Criterion, but they're not interested in French films.
but I'll be honest, it's the movie that when I started collecting Criterions and I would listen to people like recommend Criterions, Breathless and 400 Blows were on every single list.
It's
They
definitely always
granted
put
at the
out there.
time
Yeah.
this was over a
Yeah.
decade ago. There weren't as many films as there are now. And this was, several hundred releases ago at least. And I just feel like Breathless is always kind of a quintessential Criterion release. For novice, for people who don't like want to get into foreign cinema, they want to get into what Criterion is all about. I feel like those two films tend to be the ones people gravitate towards. So this makes sense. I mean, I own this on Blu-ray, and I never felt the urge to upgrade it to a newer edition.
No, I think
I don't know about you,
no,
Steven.
I'm okay. I like the
Okay.
movie. I like the movie. I've liked the movie the more I've seen it. But yeah, it looks great in the Blu-ray that I got. Um, let's move over to Watermelon Woman, which like
Oh,
you said,
right.
finally getting a Blu-ray from this one's a 2K restoration on the film, supervised by Shel Dene. Um, yeah, I think we talked about her in this. I mean, we might even talked about this movie a little bit. I think at some point. Did she have another film of hers that got released where we talked
Well,
about this
we
movie? Because I remember we talked about this movie at some
well,
point.
we did a whole episode on Cinema Discovery Project on the
Did
Watermelon
we?
Woman.
That's why.
Yeah,
That
we did
is
a whole
why.
episode
I
on the
remember that
Watermelon Woman.
now.
Yeah, and this movie's not hasn't been really easy to find to watch. I mean, usually you had to find it streaming somewhere. And even then, it was kind of impossible to find streaming anywhere. I don't even know if there was a DVD that's readily been available. But this is just a phenomenal film. I mean, it's really interesting, unique. It's came out in when did it come out? 1996. So it was right in that 90s like
Indie boom.
American indie
Yeah.
movement, and it feels like that.
There's a video.
It
There's a
very
video
much feels
store
like
in
that.
it. There's a
Yeah.
it's
So, Cheryl Dunye stars in the film as has a character named Cheryl who works at a video store, and she is an aspiring film director. And she's making this documentary in the movie, so it's like a movie within a movie about this 1930s uh, character that you saw in a movie called the Watermelon Woman, and she's trying to like figure out who she was, what was her name, what was her career like, all this kind of stuff. And not only is she like investigating that, but she's also kind of traversing her own life as a gay woman who is in a relationship with who starts up a relationship with this woman portrayed by Guinevere Turner, and she's kind of balancing her life in that way. And the movie gets into all kinds of interesting themes and stuff like that. It's just fantastically underrated, underseen film that finally gets a
yeah.
release. What I really like about this set is that it also comes with her short films as well, which are fascinating explorations of kind of personal sexual discovery and things like that. They were playing on the Criterion Channel for a while. That's where I saw them, as well as the Watermelon one was on there for a little while as well. But with streaming, things come and go.
Yeah.
Monthly, weekly, daily now, basically. But this has a new interview with Cheryl Dunye. It's got a new conversation with her, a new conversation with some film scholars. So this is a or at least I'm going to get day one.
Okay.
Like this is coming out during the Criterion Barnes and Noble sale, so hopefully my store has some copies. Who knows?
Well, we know
Um,
After Hours won't be there.
no, after I was going to be bought up by all of the kids who go to the art
Yeah.
schools. I got that feeling. Also, they probably get a super limited release. So these are all coming out in
Yeah.
July. But moving on from there, let's go to One False Move,
Okay.
because this is a movie that's already gotten a Blu-ray release, Steven.
Yeah. Imprint.
And you
Yeah.
have it.
Imprint put in one of their After Dark Noir sets. I believe the first one, and yeah, this is directed by Carl Franklin. He also did another film, I think, that got a release recently from Criterion, Devil in a Blue Dress. I believe he also directed that. Um,
He
Yep.
did.
So he's, this film here is stars Bill Paxton. I believe Billy Bob Thornton's in there as well. And it's essentially,
He co-wrote the film.
yeah, yeah, and so essentially, this is what I remember about the movie is that there's criminals that are making their way towards this town where Bill Paxton is, and of course, a couple federal agents who are kind of waiting on them to come that way. And in the waiting, they kind of there's a lot of like interesting discussions about in this case race and law enforcement and just social political politics going on within their discussions, I think. But you know it's an interesting performance by Bill Paxton. He kind of kills it in this one.
Yeah, he's very w-
Yeah,
charismatic, as he always was
he
on
always
screen
is,
in
but
many of his roles.
he's not always the lead. And in this one he's
No, and this was an early role for him. This movie came out in 1991, I think. 1990, yeah, 1991, 1992 in that time frame. So this was him. This was before Twister. This was before um that small role he had in um True Lies. I mean, this was before Bill Paxton, I think, was really a relative household name. I mean, this was post Aliens, but even then he was just kind of part of that ensemble
he hadn't
cast.
done Twister yet. Yeah, he hadn't done Twister yet.
No, yeah, not done Twister
But
yet.
that's where he got
I
big.
mean, oh yeah, in the '90s was kind of his coming out party. Th Yeah, of course, he was in Near Dark as well, but yeah, he was in Predator 2. I don't know if you remember
You
that.
remember
He's
it.
got a yeah, great small role. He was in a lot of movies in the '80s and '90s. Damn, I miss
I
him.
do miss Bill
Uh,
Paxton. Yeah.
yeah, I do miss Bill Paxton. Of course, he was in Tombstone. He was in, Apollo 13, one of my
What was the movie
favorites.
he did that he
Um,
directed that was really good? That one of it,
Frailty.
Frailty. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's an underrated gem. Um, but yeah, he's in this film as kind of this small town sheriff who's got a bit
Aspires
of
to
a wit and
be.
a bit
Yeah,
of a ways about him.
yeah. He aspires to be a government. You know.
Yeah, he wants to be like an
Yeah, or
LAPD
yeah,
officer or
like a
detective or
big
something like
city, a
that.
big city. Cop.
I'll tell you this, Billy Bob Thornton is he's got a ponytail in this movie, and I just remember that ponytail look in the
Yeah,
'90s where it would be men who were balding and they would still have like long hair
yeah.
ponytail type of style. I'm thinking of Nick Cage in um what's Con Air, where he's not really
He's not really
balding, but he's
balding.
got the long hair.
It's not quite what you're
Um
talking about, but yeah, I know.
no, it's not like that. Not like Billy
No,
Bob Thornton in
no.
this. But it was just like people who had that type of hairstyle back then, they just couldn't
Makes
let
me
it
think
go
of
that they
Danny
were losing their
DeVito.
hair.
Danny DeVito used to
Danny DeVito in
twins.
Twins.
Yeah,
Think of that. Yeah, that's very similar to where Billy Bob Thornton is in
yeah,
this film with his hairstyle, but he's a scumbag in this film, just a
yeah.
complete scumbag. This is a really kind of dark, twisted, dirty '90s neo noir. Um, and that was, like I said, co-written by Billy Bob Thornton, and apparently originally this movie was going to go straight to video until like at the last moment, I guess good word of mouth or good buzz behind it got some company to release it in a theatrical form, and it's kind of become a bit of a favorite ever since. But good film, really good film. Like Steven said, Carl Franklin's already in the collection with Devil in the Blue Dress, and this goes right along with it if you're putting them on the shelf together. Um, yeah, this is another one I think I'm going to get eventually because I don't have that set that Steven was talking about from Imprint.
And before I forget, initially, and if you're wondering, like I remember this getting an announcement. Well, it did have an announcement. It was supposed to come out through Kino, I think, like a year or so ago, and then it got canceled. And so now we know what happened there. Um, obviously,
Yeah,
Criterion,
sounds like a rights issue
yeah,
to me.
Criterion was like, nope, no, we got this.
Oh,
You know,
was it one of the few times where Criterion
this,
kind of
yeah,
took
yeah.
a
Usually,
release from
Kino's
Kino
like,
and
oh,
released it
look what
on?
we got here. We got old Criterion's
I know it. I think
upgrading that shit.
Yeah, Kino's kind of leading them in that race, but still, this was one of
Yeah.
them. But one false move, solid '90s new noir, and now we move to something completely different than what we've been talking about. We're talking about westerns.
What?
Not only we talk about westerns, we're talking about westerns by Bud Bedecker, a 4K UHD box set of 5 of his films, and all of these films have been released. Most notably in a box set that I know Steven has, and that's the Bud Bedecker box set put out by Indicator,
Yeah.
which is one of their early Indicator box sets, and it's been out of print for a little while now. So this is a redemption thing for some collectors out there, unless you've paid the big bucks on eBay for it. So we've got 5 films. We've got The Tall T, Decision at Dawn, no, Decision at Sundown, Buchanan Rides Alone, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station.
Yeah, and these all star Randolph Scott. That's kind of this is kind of a team up, a director actor team up set. And this is all within a 4-year period. All these movies were made in a
Yeah,
very short amount of time, and they're
and they
all
all came
yeah,
out between 1957 and
yeah.
1960.
So they're all if we're being plain about it, they're all very similar movies. They're all very similar in plot and characters and situations. And some might look at this as like, some of these movies may be a little redundant, but to be honest, they all feel like they have an identity.
They're solid.
And they're all solid,
Mm.
and they're all, you know, at this time we were getting into that transition where the spaghetti western was about to become a thing. Like, hadn't quite gotten there yet. Like, it was on the verge, and uh, Bud Bedecker's western had a little bit more of like this like bright optimisticness to it that I don't think I think they were trying to steer away from at that time. Um, and I think
Oh, this I feel you. Yeah, I don't want to
go ahead.
interject. Um, I was just gonna say, this is where my Taylor Hackford transition came from earlier, because there's an introduction to the films by filmmakers Martin Scorsese and Taylor
Yeah,
Hackford. There's the
there you
connection.
go.
But like Steven was saying, these are actually incredibly
Yeah,
influential westerns. Specifically, I just mentioned it, Martin Scorsese talks about the influence that these had and the impact that these had, because these are B westerns. They're not they're B movie westerns. They're only about what
hour and 15.
72 to 78
There,
minutes
none of them were more than an
long.
hour and a half. Like, they were all
I don't even
hour
think any of
20
them got to
minutes might have
that.
been the longest one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
max. You know what I mean? Which is good because you know he was able to tell a complete story, beginning, middle, and end, all within a small time frame. And these films, and it's not like he was cheapening out when it came to story or character or action or anything like that. These were really solidly well put together films. I mean, I got to watch them all, leading up to this, and the reputation of why they're very popular is warranted, because they are really, really solid westerns. Now, of course, you have to be a fan of the western to appreciate them. If your westerns aren't your thing, this is not going to win you over in any way, because these are about as western as you can get. They're small in scope, which is really cool. They usually take place in one town in a small amount of areas, dealing with not too complicated of plots or anything like that. Usually, maybe it's revenge, or maybe it's like a heist, or a a ransom situation or something like that, or you're dealing with Native American issues or whatnot. They all take place, I believe, seemingly in that post Civil War Western era, but you don't really get that gist of it. Not like the John Ford westerns, where you can really, really tell politically where they were set and whatnot. And these don't have the John Ford epic feel to them. You know what I mean? They don't have that sense of scope. They're more central and more focused, which I really, really like. So this is a really great box set. I mean, I'm excited to get it because I missed out on that Indicator set, and some of the special features from that Indicator set do make their way onto here, but you do get some new stuff. You do, like I said, get the new you get intro with Scorsese and Taylor Hackford, which I'm not sure if that's new, but you get a new intro by critic Farron Smith Name, on actor Randolph Scott. Randolph Scott had an incredibly long career, and a good I'm pretty sure, like, the majority of his roles were all done in Western kind of genre films. That was his thing, and he had a really long career. So that's kind of fascinating. If you don't know who Randolph Scott is, I'm guessing you're going to get a lot of information on him, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm loving this set. I love the fact that it's also in 4K. You don't get a lot of westerns in 4K. I mean, at least not catalog westerns like this.
No, it was a big surprise. I mean, um, they must have really wanted this because I mean these the indicator set is a region free set. It was something that you could get to watch anywhere. So that's what's interesting about this. They must have gotten these rights a while back ago. Um,
Well, I guess since they can put them out in 4K, that kind of erases the whole rights thing. Um, in terms of like competing with the rights with Indicator. Um, yeah, I that's fascinating. I didn't know that that set was
yeah, it's region
region
free.
free.
So but yeah, I enjoyed I enjoyed all these on a certain level. Like I think universally most people like the Tall T the most. It's kind of the most complete. Like it's the most I think overall like complete movie. Like in the sense of like it's got a lot of interesting characters, interesting story. Um, some of the action scenes are more intricate in that movie. I think. But honestly, I think if I had to pick a favorite, um, I might say that I liked um, uh, Buchanan Rides Alone
Ooh,
a lot.
okay, okay.
I just really liked I think I liked Randolph Scott in that film out of all the films the most. Like he was the most. I guess you could say he was the most like a more spaghetti western type of character in that movie. Like he was more dirty. He was more.
Oh, he was like evil in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Not evil, but he was out for revenge, and he was ruthless, and he was angry, and
yeah.
misguided. You could say. I mean,
That's why I'm saying. That's
the
what I'm
issue
saying.
I have
It
with
was the
that,
closest we
yeah,
got to the spaghetti western genre that would eventually come. Like
yeah,
where,
pre spaghetti western,
yeah,
really.
and
Um, it, yeah, the one issue I had with that film is that the ending kind of not fizzled out for me, but like the conclusion of the conflict was a little underwhelming. I would say a little bit for me.
yeah,
Um, but
I
yeah, it is a
think maybe
different scenario.
sure it wasn't like some grand shootout or something like that, but I think the catharsis of what happened for him at the end of the movie was what mattered. Like
Mm.
without saying what happens, but like I think the fact that he had to get through his he had to get past his revenge at the end to do the right thing was what mattered for the characters in the story, for his character in the story. That's we didn't need some big thing. Um,
I understand.
so
I
yeah,
understand.
but it
And also, it had a lot of speaking of spaghetti western, it felt like um a fistful of dollars.
mhm,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It felt like Yojimbo
Yeah.
in a little bit of the sense. So I do understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but it might have been my favorite one just kind of thing. And it's hard to it's somewhat hard to like look at these movies and be like try to figure like especially if you haven't watched them in a while, I could see how you could mix them up because lot of the same locations were shot in all these movies.
I honestly think I just mixed up the plot of those two movies. Of two movies.
You know,
I think I just mixed up the plot of Decision at Sundown and Buchanan Rides Alone. Because Decision at Sundown is the movie where Randolph Scott is hell bent for vengeance. Um, where he goes to that town and he interrupts the guy's
the
um
wedding. Yeah.
wedding. Yeah.
But in
Uh,
Buchanan Rides Alone, he's also vengeance for his family being killed.
mm,
I believe that's if
yeah.
I'm remembering that right. Like I said, these are all very similar movies, so it's
They're very similar films.
um
Are you talking about maybe Ride Lonesome is the one that he's getting vengeance? All these movies have to do with
yeah,
vengeance.
yeah. Yeah, they're all really solid. They're all watchable. They're not really boring. They're all colorful, and there's a lot of Technicolor going on here. So they're all very
Yeah,
colorful.
beautiful
Yeah,
scenery.
there's some
Yeah, I think they
really
shot.
good shots in the film. Yeah,
Yeah, I think these were all shot in I think Southern California,
yeah.
perhaps. I mean, I'm just guessing. I know Steven has watched the special features,
I
which kind
watched
of give
some of
all
them. I
that
haven't watched all of
contextual
them, but
information. Okay, I was giving you more credit, but
I'm not
whatever.
gonna lie.
You know,
I've only
you could
watched.
have just taken the
I
extra
didn't want to
credit.
take the extra credit. I don't lie. No, I've watched a few things, but I haven't watched the whole set. But yeah, it's a very popular set, the indicator set, and I'm sure people will really like this new 4K set. It's it, you know I like the front cover that I'm seeing. These inner covers a little plain, but
Yeah, I am wondering if this is going to be one of those sets that have the thin packs in
yeah,
them, kind of a la the Eric Romer
yeah,
set or the Jacques Demy set. Those kind of thin packs. I have that feeling.
yeah.
I just I don't think these are not going to be full
No,
cases
I
or
doubt
anything
that.
like that.
But yeah, I think if you're a fan of westerns, this is definitely a solid set that you're gonna want to get. So
And it is coming out during the Barnes& and Noble 50% off sale, if it indeed happens this
yeah,
year. I know we always speculate whether it's going to happen or not,
yeah,
but I guess we could just bank on it, if you will. I mean, at least for now, until they tell you
yeah.
otherwise. So this set is actually not going to be as expensive as I thought it would be. Um, Specifically because it's a 4K set, I thought it'd be more expensive. And with the 50% off thing, it's going to be pretty decently affordable.
$40,
Hmm,
50
yeah.
bucks. I don't know. I'm guessing.
No, no, I wish more like
Okay,
75, but more
never
like
mind.
75. $50 would be a steal. Although you could wait for a flash sale, and then if those of you who've got coupons in your email, you can always stack those on the Criterion website. I mean, unless they've gotten rid of the stacking, I don't know. Because I think they just sent one out because it's the what's it, the 3-year anniversary of the Criterion channel launching.
Yeah,
So check your emails. You should have gotten like a $10 off or something coupon in there. I know I did. I don't know about you,
I did.
Steven.
I got one.
Okay, okay. I just wanted that
Yeah, yeah.
confirmation so I wasn't just dreaming
You're
things
just
up.
making it up. Um,
I got like 2,000 unread emails, so I really need
yeah,
to
you should
get
get
on
on that.
that.
But that is it for spy number 95 of Chasing Labels. Once again, thanks to Lisa Dreyer, director of Fantastic Fest, one of the does acquisitions over at Draft House Films. Thank you again for joining us and talking to us. And Andrew, please take us out. Where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels, where you can find all of these interviews that we keep doing with a bunch of interesting people. I mean, we've gotten to interview so many fascinating people in and around not only the hobby of collecting movies and movies on Blu-ray and physical media, but some people in the industry as well. Specifically, Chris McKay, who uh, has his new movie out already in Renfield, starring the one and only Nicolas Cage. And I know that we had a great time talking with him. So check that out if you haven't already.
Most definitely. And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, or at the other Chasing Labels stuff, whether it be our Twitter, Instagram, or you can even find me over at my letterbox at Stephen Billings. You can also find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.